There we go. Hey, Damon.
Hey, how you doing, John?
Good. All right. Yeah, I'm out in my garage too. All right.
Have I got a story to tell you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to laugh because I watched your video the other night on what not to do before a big match.
Yeah.
I could not be more contrary to that right now. I mean, in fact, last night I was, working in the wee hours of the night, chambering up a new barrel to I told you I had a problem with my team, and I'd lost a lot of guys. Well, I picked up a guy from FTR, but he doesn't have any F open rifles. And he shoots left-handed, and I don't have any left-handed stock, so I had to convert a rifle over to him so he could shoot it left-handed, and I'm chambering up a barrel. I had to rechamber a barrel. I just set it back for a cartridge that's going to be more in line with the drift characteristics of the rest of the team that's going to be shooting, and I'm going out to the range this afternoon to develop a load for it.
Nothing like waiting till the last minute.
No, nothing like that. So it's just been a mess. So.
Yeah, well, it happened. All right. So, I know this is sort of an odd hour to do a meeting, but, life is what it is for me. So I appreciate everybody that is here, and I'm sure a lot of people will watch this later. I know I was cutting into church and some other, people just don't like getting up this early. So, so let me just give you kind of a quick rundown of what my plan is. So I'm going to kind of show you guys how I pack different things, sort of what I've learned over the last couple of years. And by no means am I an expert at this. Like, there's guys that fly way more than I do. But I've been fortunate to fly with a lot of those guys and learn some different tips and tricks and things like that. You will probably not see me pack everything 100%, only because the reality is, like, I have to, like, there's things where I'm gonna have to go back and maybe pull something out and pack something else in and kind of, massage it a little bit. But I'm going to show you the basic idea of everything that I'm doing and why I'm doing it and what I've done in the past. And, hopefully this helps anybody who has to travel. And this doesn't apply to just flying. I mean, this applies to driving or anything, but the reality is when you're flying, you have to cut gear. Like, unless you're a millionaire, you're just not going to want to fly with everything you normally would take with you. So there are a lot of things that you have to consider. So let's jump right into it. And I'm going to just go over my front rest first. Now, for me, as you know, I shoot this, which is my Rodzilla. It is not by any means the most travel-friendly front rest, especially for airplanes. So, really, the reality is something like a Mini is the ultimate travel. Like, most of the guys who travel are going to have a Seb Mini or a Mini X now. They're fantastic. They're lightweight. They're like 11 or 12 pounds. They fold up, super easy to store, pretty indestructible when they're folded up. But that's just not what I have going on right now. So I've got this to contend with. Now, the Rodzilla, as it normally comes, weighs about 26 or 27 pounds. And it comes in, I don't have it, it's over here, but it comes in a hard, like, Pelican style case. So under normal circumstances, you could pack this up in that hard case and throw it in the back of a truck and it would be fully protected. But on an airplane, you have to consider the fact that that one Pelican is its own baggage. And if you're going to fly and shoot, you're really the only airline you should consider is Alaska. And here's why. So Alaska allows up to 50 pounds of ammunition. And unless you're just hunting or something where you have a very small round count, every other airline, literally every other airline is 11 pounds of ammo. So there's nearly five times the amount of ammo allowed on Alaska. I'm traveling with close to 425 rounds of ammo. That's like 30 pounds of ammo, something like that. We'll weigh it out here, but it's a lot of ammo. When I went to Tennessee, I had 500 something rounds, and with the case and everything that I had taken with me, that was 43 pounds of ammo. And I paid for one entire Pelican full of ammo, and I swore I wouldn't do that again. So I have now reconfigured how I do ammo, and I'll show you that. But when it comes to my front rest, it can't be its own case. I'm not going to spend $100 to take this and another $100 to bring it back. So it needs to fit in my suitcase in something. So what I have is I have this, which it's made for like I don't know, there's all different sizes on Amazon. They're made for mostly like electronics, like keyboards and MIDI boards and stuff for music. And it's a hard, it's a hard shell. It zips up, and that's what we're going to pack my front rest into. Obviously, my front rest is bigger than this, so we're going to have to take it apart. I've also done something kind of special with my Rodzilla in that I have an aluminum base. So my base only weighs about 3 pounds. So I've shaved about 10 pounds off of this. As it stands, this only weighs about 17 pounds now. So for travel purposes, it's much, much better. So let me show you what I'm going to do. So the first thing I need to do is obviously I need to take off the feet. And I warned you guys, this is going to be a long, dry Zoom call, but it's going to have a ton of information in it. So I apologize, but I didn't want to be too preemptive and pack away stuff. So I really wanted to show you guys what I go through packing up and getting ready. And, depending on what you use for a front rest, this is going to change. But the idea is that we want to get this into the most travel-friendly configuration, right? Like, I grew up playing with Transformers, and like in my head, that's sort of the game I play, right? Like, it's a front rest that also becomes a box. So that's sort of how I try to go about this whole thing.
Does the Rodzilla, when you travel, stay pretty balanced, or do you have to remess with the screws?
Oh no, it'll stay balanced.
Okay, good.
And you can't really travel without. I shouldn't say you can't, but you shouldn't expect to travel without, planning on a couple hours of reassembly when you get to a match. Like it's just not reasonable to try to plan on, like arriving, when you think about flying somewhere and maybe you're trying to save costs and, you're like, well, the match doesn't start till noon. I'm just going to fly in that morning. Keep in mind, or come in late that night. I'll tell you a story in a second, but when you come in late, maybe the night before or whatever it is, you have to really be conscious about, what, hang on, I'm trying to find something here. Go. You have to be conscious about what's my reassembly time, what's my prep time to really get back, where I want to be so that I can, have my head in the right place, have my gear in the right place, feel comfortable with everything that's going on. Somehow I misplaced my Fix-It sticks.
Hey, John, did you say you're going to fly out on Monday?
Yeah, I'm flying out tomorrow, like midday.
So the matches start on Wednesday, right? The
match starts on Wednesday. Yep. So
what are you gonna do Tuesday?
So I'm gonna practice on Tuesday. So they're doing practices. You can show up and it's like $10 and you can shoot at the 100, 200. So I'm actually going to go and do a little practice before.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. I packed away my Fix-It sticks in one of my rifle boxes. So give me a second here. You know what? I'll just use my Chapman kit. Okay. Yeah, so I'll tell you a horrible story. So when I went to Nationals in Raton a couple of years ago. Me and a buddy flew in to Denver, and then it's about a 3.5 hour drive out of Denver to get down to Raton. And I don't know, like we weren't really thinking about it and whatnot. We ended up, what time did we got in? So the first day of shooting, it wasn't Nationals, it was Spirit of America, which is like the match that runs concurrently before Nationals. But we arrived at like 1 o'clock in the morning, the day of shooting, and spent an hour putting all our gear together once we got there. And then slept for about 3 hours, and then got up and then went and shot. And let me tell you, that was a horrible, horrible experience. You're still, you got the adrenaline of all the driving and getting there. And that was just a horrible morning. And, I don't have a problem getting to a match the day before if I have to, but, like, fortunately I'm in a position where I can fly down a day ahead. And, as a result, I'm going to, and, just gets me settled in a little bit more. It lets me go out and shoot, practice. And, just the way it is. They're actually doing 1,000-yard practice today. But that's only because there's another match going on, so you can shoot on any of the lanes if you want to. There we go. So I'm just trying to break down, I've done this before, but I'm just breaking down my Rodzilla into like core components here. And I have to be really careful with this because it's on linear bearings, and the linear bearings, I mean, this whole upper assembly will go flying right off, and linear bearings are really awesome, but really a pain in the butt because inside there's like a tube that the rod rides in, and there's like, I don't know, 50 or 100 tiny ball bearings that are all lined up in that tube section. So there's rows of bearings, and there's incredibly small tolerances, and the bearings technically aren't, it's not like a race where they're held in. So technically those ball bearings can fall out. If this tube goes whoop and falls out and I hit this, there's the potential that some of those ball bearings will pop out, and the ball bearings are like stupid small. So I have to be really careful when I do this. Like, again, breaking this down for travel, I've practiced with it, so I'm a little more comfortable. It's not as simple as just folding up like a Seb Mini, like I said. So here's what I do. So I've got these 1-inch pole caps that I bought at Home Depot or whatever. And what they're going to do is they go right on the ends. So this is prepping this so that it acts as a stop. So it's not going to come off completely. And so now I can prove you wrong because I forgot to put it on this side. So what I need to do is loosen these up and then put the caps on this side. Okay, so now these are more or less captured. So now I have just this plate, which is just going to go in my baggage. And that's nice and light, like I said. So that's going to go in my baggage, and we'll deal with that in a minute. And then I need to get the rest of this into my hard case. Now, this hard case, I did a bunch of measurements and then looked on Amazon. It is literally as tight as I could possibly have gotten for this particular thing. So I've got a towel that's going to make it even tighter. And I just fold that up in here. And then we're going to take this, and I shoot the bench rest bag on top, so it's it's a little easier to do this with. If you have the roller top, then all you have to do is pop the ears off the roller top, and then it's just as easy. But I just don't have to remove. That's like the one thing I don't have to do with this. Okay, so then this is nice and tight in here, and then I have some components that I need to put in. So I have my joystick component that is going to go in here, and a second. This is going to go in. And then this folds over. And I've got, like I said, I've got all these parts that need to find a home in here. So those are going to go there. And then this goes under here. And there's always a risk. Like, you know, people always ask me, like, aren't you scared? Yeah, of course I'm scared. Like, I would much rather drive my gear. Like, without a doubt, driving is just a lot more comforting when it comes to, you know, how your gear is going to hold up. But I'll be honest, I physically struggle driving. And it's really hard on my body, and I just can't do it anymore. So if I travel, I almost have to fly. Like when I went to Coalinga, that was too much on my body. I shouldn't have driven that.
You just take the joystick. You don't take the locking thing. You just use a fix it stick if you ever need to lock it in place, or.
Oh, no, sorry.
There it is. Yep.
Yeah, those will go. Those don't fit in here. Those are going to go separate. If you're traveling somewhere, make sure that if you have dirt feet, sand feet, F-class feet, whatever you want to call them, make sure that they are packed away securely as well. And then, you know, like on mine, these used to be really sharp, and I just blunted them out because there's really no need for them to be stupidly sharp. Okay, so I have in there, I forgot to put this screw in. So I've got I just double checked, but I've got all three of these. I've got these. You know, the nice thing is, like, all of this stuff, while not ideal to replace, I can go to a hardware store down there and not have a problem at least getting something that would be functional. And, you know, that's where it's kind of important to know how your gear works. You know, what's proprietary, what's not proprietary. You know, what can you live without if it doesn't have to go with you? You know, things like that. You know, luckily these are pretty common threads. It wouldn't be ideal, but if I had to work through it, I could work through, you know, running to a hardware store sometime and finding replacements. Stuff like this gets trickier. You know, like there's ways to make this out of stuff at Ace. I've done it, but it's not ideal. Again, not necessarily the situation you'd want to be in. All right. So I've got all of that in, and then we're going to tuck it all in so that it's nice and tight. There we go. That is my Rodzilla T-Rex in a hard case. So now I can put this anywhere I want. So in this particular case, it's going to go in my Samsonite luggage bag. And I'll show you how that's going to work in a second. I had just a little bit of a bulge on top here, so let me rearrange this just a little bit. There we go. All right. So that's how I do my Rodzilla. And you know, it's worked well the last couple times I've done it. It is, like I said, very tight. But that's what I want. You know, I don't want this thing moving around. It's going to be inside of something already. So it doesn't have to be super protective, but if it's moving around in my Samsonite for some reason, you hit something, at least it's fairly protected. So there's my base. There's the rest of my T-Rex. And I have my two handles, which are easy. I'll put them in my gun case. And all right. What color what color should I shoot with? Give me a lucky color.
Dark
Is that
blue.
orange?
No, it's red and pink and chartreuse.
Hey, you
Dark
know,
blue.
All right. First thing I heard was dark blue, so we're going with dark blue.
Can't go wrong.
I was
with
going to
pink.
say get in touch with your feminine side and use pink.
That's
Well,
what I
I-
say. Can't go
so
wrong with pink.
I've shot my highest scores with the pink. So this one actually is what I shot that 220 with.
So there's no question here.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go pink. It is my favorite ball. So I went to this. There's a miniature golf place near me, and it's really cool because they don't use balls that are like printed on in any way. So as opposed to going to like a golf store where they've got some colored balls, but then it says something on it. I went to a miniature golf place and asked them if they had any brand new balls, and I think I paid like $3 for all 6 of those, and so yeah.
Nice.
So these are going to go later. So, all right. And obviously, if I had a different kind of rest, I would pack it up differently. Like this isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It just gives you an idea of like what I'm looking to do. Now, if I had a mini, honestly, with a mini, you could even consider just wrapping it in a towel and maybe putting some Velcro around it. You don't necessarily have to have a hard case. It just depends. This has more things sticking off of it that I think require a little more care. Plus, you have those 2 rods with the linear bearings that you have to worry about. So like, there's things that can get messy with this one. So, all right. So we're going to put this aside for a minute. So there's one down. So now we get into the one that's just sort of monotonous, and I'm sorry to put you guys through it, but we don't have to do all of it, which is loading up my ammo. So I have 5 boxes of ammo here. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch that little 2-minute video I put up last night. But all of this was done on my amp press. And I'm not really going to debate the merits of whether I should or shouldn't have used the amp press or whether the outliers make a difference. I don't have a good answer for you yet. All I can tell you is I do feel fairly confident with how I shot in the last month using it. So I'm going to go into it feeling confident by using it.
Had nothing to do with the amp press. It was the pink ball.
It was the pink ball. Totally was the pink ball.
I would think you'd save the pink ball for like the really big matches, so you don't.
Yeah,
waste
well,
it.
this is one of the biggest. So
All right, there you go.
we're going to run with it. All right. So we're going to start with what is undoubtedly my practice ammo. So this one was just leftovers from a box that I wanted to finish loading up. There's 33 rounds here. Again, some of them tested weird. These were just sort of weird, weird brass that I just wanted to use up. They're loaded okay. They're like B+ ammo, so they'll be fine for practice. And then what we have is my Click It clams. Now, if you haven't watched any of my videos on the Click It clams, and I don't think I have any on Patreon, but if you look on my YouTube, I've got some on this, and these things are fantastic for traveling for a couple reasons. One, if you're familiar with any kind of ammo box, you're going to get shifting. And with the shifting comes vibration, you get settling, your bullets can move. If like there's all kinds of things that can happen. Even driving in a car for 20 hours, this isn't like the best solution. It's not a bad one, but you're still subject to a lot of vibration and shaking that could occur. These Click It clams, these things literally snap into place. Okay. So it's not going anywhere. So I already have a couple of these labeled. We're going to be labeling a bunch, but these are already labeled. So everything in this box is considered bad. Now, it doesn't mean they're bad. It just means that they're not for match use. And then I'm going to actually add a second label. So I'm putting all the ones that were upside down first. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack onto this bad. Now, I always count this like a book, left to right. So this is round number 1. I'm This would be round 20. They always open up the same way. It's got the little ammo buddy written right here. So that's my front. So this is how I open them every time. So this is always round 1. This is always round 20. So in this case, it's going to be round 9 through 20. So bad 9 through 20. And then I could write over here. And I know this seems redundant. Like, you're loading it, and you should know that this is practice ammo. Yeah, but let me tell you, when you get to a match and stuff starts happening, you just want to have some confidence when you look at it. Like, okay, practice 1 through 8, bad 9 through 20. No questions. Because what if I just wrote bad 9 through 20, but then I forget what the first 8 were? You know, were the first 8 just not as bad? Were they, you know, maybe I had to put some match ammo in here because I was trying to save space. So I label everything. So every box will say what 1 through 20 is. And that's just how I do it. You know, again, none of this is gospel. It doesn't mean I have the only way or the best way. It's just what I have found over time works. It's amazing how far out the window your brain goes when you go to a big match. So there's my first 20 rounds. 1 through 8 are practice. 9 through 20 are bad. Okay. So now we're going to grab another one. And the nice thing is, when I'm done with these, you know, you just take an alcohol wipe and that just comes right off. Because this is just a smooth surface right here. So you can see it's, so I just write on this, and then when I get home, I just alcohol wipe them off. And then I forgot, I need to add one more thing to that one over there that I forgot. I'll show you in a second. Now, you can do a couple things with these click cams. One is you can just use them at the match. You know, you pop all your ammo out, and then they just sit on the tray, and then you're good to go. I've done that at matches. In fact, that's what I did at Coalinga. I've done it at Rattlesnake. It's an okay solution because you're not having to take an extra box. I do have, I haven't made the decision yet. It's going to depend on space, but there's always the chance that I'll do this, or to be honest, I may even just go to like Sportsman's or Kmart, or Kmart, well, that dates me, Walmart or something, and just, you know, these are like whatever, $8 or something, and I may just buy a box while I'm there and then just give it to somebody or throw it in my buddy's truck on the way back or something. So I don't know yet, but it is nice taking everything in click clams and having some sort of a on the line thing. The only thing about the click clams that I don't love when I'm on the line is even if I pop them all out, it's a very low profile, and you're shooting in this particular range is fairly sandy, and it's not hard to, you know, splash dirt into this, and then suddenly you've got dust and dirt on your ammo, and I'm not a huge fan of that. So having a box like this where you can at least close the lid until you're really, you know, you're fully prepped and ready to go. You know, it's got more height to it, so you can't splash into it as easily. I think going to a huge match like this and having something like that, whether I take one or buy one there, whatever, you know, that's just, it makes sense for me. So,
John, how many rounds of ammo are you bringing with you?
425.
And you're gonna pack all those in those plastic packs?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Ooh.
Okay. So this is, you know, you guys know I only keep the same brass in one box. This is box number 6. So I need to make sure that I write number 6 here. Okay, so here's this one. We have shots 8 through 20. So 8 through 20 are practice. This is box number 6. And then, so I've got 7 spots open. If I end up in a situation where maybe as I'm packing through here, I've got, in fact, I should have like 5 extra rounds that need to go in a pack. Then I can put them in here and just write, you know, match, and then whatever details on this side for the first 7. But for the time being, we're going to set that aside. So there's that. So now this box stays home, and when I get home, it'll all get unpacked into that. All right. So here is, and I won't bore you guys with packing all 425 because I know you guys have better things to do today. But let me just do a few more and I'll kind of show you. So I'm just wiping off what was on there for the box number. And in fact, while this thing's still wet, there's a couple here that still have numbers on them. So Now let's go to something like, so here's another good example. So this particular box, and I have notes, these are all notes from my loading in here. This one's a silly note, but I always take a couple notes that say shake me. And the reason is when I get to my house on Monday and I start unpacking these into these, I like to have a reminder to shake me. Why do I do that? To make sure there's powder in them. There is nothing worse than just shooting amazingly well and you grab the 1 out of 400 that you forgot to charge and the bullet leaves the barrel and you now lose 10 points automatically. That is the fastest way to demoralize yourself, and if you're doing well, to jump about 20 spots down. Now, I am fairly confident because of how I reload, the methodology I use. I look at every piece, I put a bullet on it. I'm very confident that there is nothing missing powder. I want to be absolutely sure. So I take a couple little post-it notes just to remind me to shake me. So that's just, again, my thing. It might seem stupid, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So. All right, my next notes in here. My next notes say rounds 1 through 7 are blow off. Rounds 8 through 50 are with my primer separation of 77, and then the remaining bullets are 76 primer. So I need to make sure that I label accordingly so that when I'm unpacking them to put them in batches to shoot, I don't mix up the 76s with the 77s unless it's absolutely critical. So again, we're going to go and we're going to start with what is known to be blow off. So I said the first 7. Now I already pulled 2 because there was a problem. So the first 4, and then I'm going to put, so I'm just pulling out the ones that were all outliers. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, there was 5 that were blow off. So 1 through 5 was blow off, and then 6 through 10 were outliers, and then 11 through 20 were. So I just put an M for match. So M77 is what we're going to load first. So now I can come in here, and these don't need to be in order. I don't take the amp press to that level where I have these numerically in line with seating force. I could.
What's the M76 versus M77 for the primer? Is that lot or thickness?
Weight. So my weight batches.
Yep.
Okay, so here we have, and then I need to make a note of the box number. So it's box 10. And okay, so then we have box 10, which corresponds to this red box. We have 1 through 5 are blow off, 6 through 10 are outliers, and 11 through 20 are M77. So you might say, well, what's the difference between a blow off and an outlier? Well, I'm more likely to take a critical shot, meaning maybe like a true sighter with an outlier, because I know it's going to be really close to the match ammo, as opposed to the blow offs, which are probably going to be my first couple shots just to foul the bore with. And so I just want to make sure that I've got that distinction, even though technically, like, I can almost guarantee you that 1 through 10 are all going to shoot about the same. But I at least like the distinction so that if I'm put in a position at a match where I'm desperate for a round, I make a mistake on my round count, whatever it is, and I need to grab something, if I have to choose out of these 10, I would rather take 6 through 10 as options than 1 through 5. Does that make sense? All right. So then we grab another box. Now this starts getting easier. And these Click-It clamps aren't perfect. They are plastic. They are subject to being a little brittle. The more you open them and close them, the more you're potentially, the seam that's in the middle starts to tear a little bit. You can see that. Now I have completely cut these in half before, and they still close. They still click perfect. So I'm not worried at some point about that seam breaking, but you just have to recognize that they are plastic and they're going to break down. I have 50 of them, so I've got plenty of backup in the future. And the other question that you're probably asking is, are you loading to length or are you going to seat when you're at the match? I will tell you, everything is loaded to length. I am not touching my ammo when I get there. Now, I'm pretty confident on 2 counts doing that. The first is I'm using the click it clamps, right? So in this particular case, I'm subject to far less chance of the bullets migrating in any way. I use a really heavy neck tension. I'm running like 4 thousandths neck tension. So those bullets aren't going anywhere. It's a lot different than when I used to shoot 0.5 thousandths neck tension. I would never dream of taking loaded to length 0.5 thousandths tension ammo at all. So, all right. So in this case, 1 through 20 are M77 because we're still in the 77 range. So this gets easier, right? So it's just box 10, 1 through 20 are M77. And then I need to be careful that I don't get into the 76s without properly documenting it. So 2, 3, 4. So what did I say? 51, 2, 3, 4. So 50. So these are the last 11. And, sometimes I've had people ask me, like, it seems like you make things more difficult than they have to be. Like, you should know where 50 is, or, like when you're counting stuff, why do you use a calculator when you're just adding 6 to a number? And it's like, well, we put a lot of money into these matches. Like I'm good with math. I'm good with counting. I can do a lot of it in my head. But, when it comes to this stuff, like sometimes it's, the devil's in the details, right? So, all right, box 10, 1 through 11 is M77. And then we're going to have 12 through 20 is M76. Now I have most of this ammo. In fact, I think the rest of this is all M76. So again, the 77 was designated as my target ammo for the matches. So that way, everything I'm shooting for record or blow off in the main matches is all the exact same primer sort.
John, I missed what 75 and 76 was. Can you just explain that again?
Sure. So did you happen to watch the primer sorting video that I did 4 or 5 days ago?
No, I didn't see that.
Okay, so I did a thing where I sorted primers, and the way I sort them is by using pounds. It's a little complicated. I don't like sorting by grains because there's too many numbers involved. So I sort primers by pound. That way, each one is strictly an ounce. So like 76 ounces, 75 ounces, 77 ounces. And so they're just in buckets, like 5 different tubs. And so every primer, I did 500 primers or 600 primers, whatever it was. And every one of those primers went into either 64, 64, 65, 66, 67, or 68, or 74, 75, 76, 77, 78. And so that way I was able to sort the vast majority, like 340 something or whatever it was, were the 76 measurement. And that's what all the match ammo is. Then I had a bunch of 77, which is what all my practice ammo is. And, it's just a way of segregating it.
What primers are you using, John?
Gold medals, 210s.
Okay. I don't know if you saw Brian Zolnikov did a video where he saw that Bentress primers generally have less variability when you do the set that same measurement. So you end up throwing away less, I guess.
Yeah, supposedly. So here's the part that I don't like. If we go off topic for a second, I've heard this rumor, right? Like everybody hears like, oh, CCI only puts the best primers as BR2s or BR4s, right? Or Federal does the same thing. Well, so if you, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but if you look at a Federal, there's no way to tell that this is a gold medal.
No,
right. But if you look at a CCI, it has an actual designation on the bottom of the primer, right? And so that would have to lead me to believe that they either have the most precise way of stamping a primer once there's primer compound in there without potentially detonating a primer, or those caps are already printed before they ever fill them.
Right.
So the notion that CCI somehow uses the best primers. Now, what I do believe is that both Federal and after watching some videos of how they actually make primers and some people explaining the process that actually done it, what I do believe is that Federal and CCI designate their highest trained primer makers to, fill the cake and put in the anvils. And, it's a very manual process. There's no automation involved. And it goes from one room to the next room through these little windows, and they're all isolated, and the guys stand in literal, like, a puddle of water so there's no static. I mean, it's really crazy. And so you've got, so I do believe that while they don't sort the primers and then put the best ones in like people think they do, I do think that they probably put the best people in charge of the BRs or the gold medals.
Is this the
But
first time you're going to a match with weighted primers and sorting with the amp, I suppose?
Definitely sorting with the amp. I've probably done the primers. I don't remember.
And will you be able to, like, when you do your post-match breakup, do you generally say, this was me, bad wind calls, me getting in my head, ammo wasn't great, ammo was good, so if it, like, some of this ammo sorting worked? Or I guess getting rid of the extremes, not really. It'll
honestly be tough. Sometimes you just never know. Like, sometimes you can definitely tell, okay, that was me. I know I threw that one, or I hit the stock, or, things like that. So let me get a few more filled, and then I'll show you this part of it. Now, I'm not going to mix, again, I'm not going to mix boxes, so there's only 18 in this one, but I don't want to put anything from those boxes in here until it's absolutely necessary. It's not that I can't. If I don't need to, why potentially muddy the waters later? Okay, so again, box 10. 1 through 20 is M76. All right. Now, here's the other thing. The other reason, aside from being able to put this brass back in the proper box, the other thing to keep in mind is that I don't traditionally like shooting ammo from this box with ammo from this box if I don't have to. Technically, it's a different set of brass. I mean, it's all the same lot. Like, all the brass I have is all the same lot, but it's, it potentially had different tests done with it. It might be a little more or less elastic. Like, there's all these different things that could occur. So unless it's absolutely critical, even if I have like 6 or 7 rounds left from this, if I don't have a need to blow off a couple rounds that are inconsequential, I wouldn't shoot these in combination with anything from here. I would start a new box for that particular relay. And that's probably more my superstition than anything, but so far it served me pretty well. All right, everything else should be pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I just need to do 2 more real quick, and then I'll show you guys this. And again, even when loading, I have notes, right? So these were all with 76. That way there's, I'm not questioning anything. I've got 6 of them that are upside down, so those are going to get noted here. And I'm always going to make the note before I pack them. Like, I could easily start packing and just say, okay, 1 through 6. But what if I forget how many there were? What if my mind blanks out? Okay, so this is box 8, 1 through 6. Our blow off, 7 through 20, our M76. Yeah. Now I can just start loading again. We'll get into my range bag and the guns and stuff here in a minute, but just remember when you're looking at traveling, especially travel by air, excuse me, especially travel by air, it's all about what you can live without. Now, I used to be the biggest Boy Scout. I mean, I would bring, I would think, well, I'm traveling, so I need to be extra safe. I need to have extra jags and extra this and, extra, what if, extra batteries, extra Velcro, extra, whatever it was. I used to do a lot of that. And I have since learned that you're honestly pretty safe at a big match like this, right? There's literally 360 other guys at the range. Most guys are pretty happy to help if it's something that isn't detrimental to them. So if for some reason, I mean, look, if I need batteries for something, guess what? There's stores I can buy them at. If there's Velcro, I could buy it. If I'm desperate for Velcro for some reason, I can probably find somebody on the line that has a piece of Velcro I need. You know, if I need just about anything. I mean, shoot, I've had situations where, you know, my rest fell apart, you know, like a couple of years ago, I had a problem with my rest, you know, great. Some guy who was off the relay said, here, just use my front rest and get through the day. And, you know, we'll just trade off. And I was like, great. So, you know, like, don't feel like you have to take everything. And I really, really scale down for my matches now. I'm very confident. It was a little scary the first time I pared down. I was a little nervous not having my safety blankets with me. I have since learned that it doesn't matter. So, all right. You remember these cases? Well, this is a different one. Now, I can't take credit for this. I actually learned this from another guy. So, but this particular case happens to perfectly fit 9 of those Click-It clamps. Now, there's normally a foam. This holds a mini keyboard, like a Saki or Sai, I don't know, some brand. Anyway, it's nice and like felt lined though, very soft. But up here, there's normally foam padding, and you have to rip it out, and then there's glue left. So I put a piece of paper just to keep the glue from sticking.
Hey, John.
But if you take, yeah.
What size Click-It containers are you using? Because I bought that, you know, that case, but I bought I have to use the Magnum.
The Magnum won't fit in this case.
No, yeah, I figured that out early. So I've been hunting around trying to find one for the same purpose.
I'm sure this company has one on Amazon. You just have to look for a larger size.
Yeah.
So you can see here, they just perfectly fit. So that's 180 rounds ready to go. All right, and I'll show you again with everything else how that gets packed in. But I'll have 2 more of those to go. So I've got one sitting over there, and then here's my other one. So all told, between the 3, I can take 540 rounds, if my math's right. And I don't know, it seems to be a pretty good option because, again, you don't have individuals like you could just throw these in your suitcase, but then you'd have, I don't know, what do I have, like 20 something of them flying around in there. And you know, for me, having 9 of them self-contained makes it really nice and easy. Plus, I'll probably reorganize these. Like, I'm not paying super close attention to what is in which 9 are in here, but you know, the thing is that I'll probably rearrange it, and then one of these will go with me in the truck to the range. So I'll have 180 rounds for each day, even though that's way overkill and I don't need it. I'll take one of these with me, which makes it nice just from a transport standpoint. So, okay. So that's my ammo. Again, I won't bore you guys with loading all of this, but it's all done the same way. You know, all of these have some that are upside down, and you know, they've all been noted as to what primer they are and stuff like that. So I will get that stuff packed up at a later date. That's one of the reasons that we're doing this early, is because I need time to like finish all this off later, and I didn't want to rush through it. Okay. Might as well talk about packing up cleaning stuff since I'm at the bench here. Cleaning stuff is the biggest pain in the butt for me. Like, it shouldn't be, but I hate traveling with cleaning gear, mainly because of the cleaning solvents. And, you know, with my process right now, I clean down to bare metal every single time I shoot. So I need a lot of, you know, I need a lot of supplies down there. You know, it's not like, oh, you might clean, so just take a couple of wet patches with you and you're good. I'll probably go through half a bottle of, you know, carbon cleaner and stuff like that while I'm there. These bottles, I don't care what brand they are. I don't care if it's Vortec, I don't, you know, like whoever, these bottles suck as soon as they get on an airplane. You know, once they pressurize, you're going to have leaking, and it's horrible. I tried it with, I don't think I have any left, but with Vortec, you know, I tried their bottles. I've tried other, like, I don't even have one right now, but like just a screw top bottle, like you'd put cosmetics in. And I think, like, having not traveled with a lot of other solvents, I think that Vortec probably leaks a little bit more because it's, you know, it has that soap base to it basically to help with what it does. And I think that permeates out a little bit more than others, but we'll see. So the question is, well, how do I take stuff? Well, I'm actually doing something new this time, and I have no idea how it's going to work. All I know is I've been testing it. And it's using these, which look like little space shuttle food pouches. And these are off Amazon. And I've got more of them here that we're going to fill here in a second. And here's what I've come up with. And I'm open if anybody has a real world difference for me. But I've looked at these kinds of bottles, and they appear to be pretty good. But my theory is that when they expand, when they're pressurized, there's really nowhere for the bottle to go, you know, so it tends to have a bigger effect on the liquid inside, which then forces it out. I'm hoping that with these, because it's flexible, that they'll pressurize a little differently. And what I did is I tested this, and what I really should have done is I don't have a vacuum packer, but I probably should have just taken a vacuum packer and like put this in a Tupperware and depressurized it and seen what it did for a couple weeks. But these get very good ratings online for not leaking on airplane travel, for cosmetics and stuff. And what I did is I took a 500 count box of bullets and literally like put it on here and let it sit completely pressured on that. And I never had anything leak out. Now, that doesn't mean something won't leak out, but you know, we'll see how it goes. The worst thing that happens is I have to buy something when I'm there, and I'll figure it out. I really don't want to, but you know, things happen, and at least there's alternatives. So, so I've got these. These happen to be KG12 in them, and I'm not filling them all the way. I'm trying to give a little bit of space. And then what I've always done in the past, and I'm just going to do it again here, is each one of these, you know, I swear they probably think I'm a bomber when they go in there. But keep in mind, these are going in checked baggage, not carry-on. But I'm going to take a couple of these, and each one's going to get wrapped. Now, when I went to Tennessee, I did this, and my bottle leaked a little bit, and the paper towels, you know, really saved the day in terms of not making a complete mess. But I'm pretty redundant with cleaning solution when I fly. So it goes wrapped in a paper towel in a bag, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put all of those in a bigger bag. Again, I know it seems like probably overkill, but I'm just telling you, I've lost more cleaning solution on airplanes than I care to think about. All right, so there's two of these in a thing. All right, so there's that. I use a lot less of the copper, so that'll be enough for me for the copper. And I don't feel like making a mess right now, so I'm gonna put gloves on. I get such hate over these gloves, you know that? I'm sure anybody that's watched my channel long enough knows how much people just hate my gloves. Okay. So I need carbon. Obviously, I don't fly with any kind of aerosols. So even though I've got, you know, like everybody, I've got this kind of stuff, you would never want to fly with that. I'll show you my alternative. All right, this is going to go horrible. Give me just a second here. I can't remember if this funnel worked or not. Again, I'm being probably overly cautious with how much I'm leaving in room here, but I'm just seeing if it makes a difference. And there's different ways that guys travel with this stuff. Like this is, you know, not the only way. A buddy of mine is traveling with nothing but these kinds of bottles. And, you know, like I said, I've used those and they'll retain most of what you put in there, even if they leak. But I'm just trying to find a more elegant solution if I can. That should be enough solution for me. Now, these are not the most, they've got a little squeeze top. They are not the most squeeze friendly. And I'll show you, but I will be taking pipettes with me. And so I would actually, you know, go down and then put it on a patch with the pipette. All right. So this is KG1. All right. Now that should be enough carbon remover for me. And if it's not, I'll figure it out. Now we have the bore polish that I use. I am going to actually try taking this one in its bottle. I'm not going to attempt to move it to another thing, but it's also a much thicker solution. I feel like it's a little safer. And I don't know. Sometimes, you know, you're doing this and it's just a crapshoot. You're kind of guessing what's going to happen. Planes do weird things. I definitely know the solvents. I wouldn't trust in those bottles. Like they get shipped. It's weird, right? Because they get shipped in a bottle, but most of the time that's ground anyway. But. All right. So that is my. In case you use KG, you know, you can buy it in, you know, giant 7-Eleven sized bottles. It's much, much cheaper. All right, now we need to take some KG oil. You guys probably thought I was going to use that same funnel, didn't you? And I use a fair amount of oil when I'm there. You know, every night when I clean, I'm going to put oil on my bolt, stuff like that. So I'm not going to take more than one, but all right. So there's my oil. Again, if you like it, KG sells giant bottles of everything they make, which is pretty cool. All right. So we got this. And I usually, you know, like we're going to be here for a couple hours, but I mean, I usually dedicate, like I just expect when I'm getting ready for a trip like this, it's a most of a day process to do it right. If I haven't done any other prep for it, at least a good half a day. Okay, and then we've got one more of these and one of these. My wife hates it. I use Ziploc bags. We have all these reusable silicone ones in the house. That. And the nice thing is I use the paper towels when I get there. You know, I always use them while I'm cleaning. So, and then I'll just grab some new ones and wrap them back up on the way home. some of the guys that I know who are traveling, you know, they'll give their cleaning kit. Like they won't bother with this. They'll just give their cleaning kit to a friend who's driving. And you know, here's the thing: I could have easily done that. Like I've got 3 different friends that are driving down. I could have easily just packed all my stuff up, thrown it on their truck, and made my life a lot easier. I just don't like putting, if I don't have to, my match experience in someone else's hands, right? I mean, it's a 2-day drive. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. There's a lot of weather that could go wrong. Traffic stops, whatever. The last thing I would want, I mean, I've done it, but it's like you're a little stressed until it actually shows up at the match. Okay, so I have all of that gear. And then we are going to put all of that into here. Put a couple extra paper towels in here in case it leaks. Okay, so there is my cleaning solution. Now I used to do, so I'll still do one of these. I used to use a smaller, like this is a bigger match, but sometimes I'll just put 1 or 2 bottles in something like this and carry it. In this particular case, I'm just going to use it for some of the hard items. So I'm going to take a bunch of gloves with me because I do love my gloves. Let's see here, we got 1 day, it's like counting out socks, right? 1 day, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All right. So that'll be enough gloves for me. That goes in here. And then there's a couple ways that you can do things like the brushes and the pipettes. You know, like the pipettes are pretty easy. So, you know, I'm just going to be putting that straight in here. And those are clean pipettes, so I don't have to worry about what they've been in. But then I've got things like my brushes. And there's a couple ways that you can approach the brushes. If you're worried about your brushes getting damaged or crushed or anything like that, there's solutions you can use. Like you can do something like this. You know, you can, these are plastic, they're not glass, but you can get stuff like these and you can put, you know, jags and stuff, you know, and it's just corked up. I happen to have these because my wife's an artist and she uses them. So I was trying them out. You know, this is the same concept, but in a tube. So you can just take your brushes, and if you got bore mops or, you know, whatever it is that you need to take, you can throw it all in here and put a lid on it. Now, in this particular case, I am going to use this, but only because I'm bringing my 308 or my 223 bore brush for cleaning my chamber. And then I'm going to put, this is the other brush I use a lot, and it's going to go in here. So those are in that. And then I'll bring an extra brush, sort of a backup. I've got my regular brush, just cleaning brush, my jag. And then I'll go ahead and bring, I actually don't use it quite as much as I did, but I've got my Parker Hale one too. And I'll bring that one just because. So at least these are a little more protected from being crushed. So my brush goes in there. A little tube with the brushes goes in there. So now I've got everything I want in there. So the last thing is alcohol. So I use 99% alcohol. I buy it at the grocery store. Looks just like that. You're all probably all familiar with it. And this stuff is dirt cheap, like really, really cheap. So I am not even going to take it with me. I'm just going to buy a bottle when I'm there. But I'm just going to take the tube with me so I don't have to worry about it. There's all of that. And then I always take a look. I've got my cleaning thing down here. I just want to make sure there's nothing that I'm forgetting that I would normally have, but everything else is in there. That's good. Okay. So then the only thing that's left is patches. Patches are obviously the easiest. So I've got two different styles of patches. I go through a lot of patches, and especially if I'm cleaning 6 days in a row. It's going to be a lot of cleaning. Luckily, when you're staying with guys and you do run out of patches, you know, there's almost always something to fall back on as far as that goes. I ordered some brushes and it came with some free. I'll use these to clean out the chamber or whatever. There's my bigger patches. Smaller patches.
Hey, John, while there's a lull in the action, you're putting patches in there. I just got my gun back from Jeremy yesterday. I can't wait to start shooting it.
Yeah. What was
He's
your
a great-
question?
He's a great guy. No, I just want to let you know that it was a good, Jeremy at JTS is a great guy.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. You know, and it's really unfortunate. He actually just had to back out of the match, so he's not going to be
Yeah,
there.
I spent a lot of time with him on the phone, so I know the situation.
Yeah, it's sad, but all right. Yeah, he does amazing work, huh?
You
Like
know what?
it's,
His work is great. I love it. But just dealing with him is such a pleasure. I mean, after
Huh.
dealing with some different other gunsmiths, he's a great guy.
he really cares. You know, like he is a really good guy. He really is. Okay. The last thing I have is I need this is what I use for my lug grease. Just don't know how much is left in this bottle. Okay. All right. So this is for my lugs. So that's going to go in here also. All right. So if I go back and look, I've got copper cleaner, carbon cleaner, and bore paste in here. I've got both size patches that I need, so that's good. And then I've got empty bottle for alcohol, some pipettes, brushes, and gloves. So this is everything that I'm going to need other than, obviously, I'm going to need my bore guide. Okay. And I'm going to take these with me, which these are those Tipton ones, which I love. Like, honestly, if I didn't have this one, and I'm not even taking this, but like this is all, like the Vortec one's pretty hard to beat for home, but I will tell you, I did this one for like 3 weeks just to see what it was like by itself, and it's actually pretty damn good for travel. So these will go with me, and then these will go in my range bag every day while I'm there, just in case I need to clean something out, and I'll have some just dry patches and stuff. So, all right. This is my little squeegee for the chamber, so that's going to go in here as well. All right, so that is everything I need there. I'm going to take this with me, which is my stock cover. Not totally necessary. Like sometimes I'll take it, sometimes I won't. You know, I can always grab a bath towel and use that. You know, a lot of times what we'll do is when we get to a house, we'll designate like a couple towels for cleaning. So that'll go over stocks, or if we have to clean on top of a table, we'll put a shower towel out and then put our stand down and stuff like that, just to make sure that we're not damaging anything. But I should be able to fit this in without a problem. So I'm not overly worried about that. So, all right. So there's all of my cleaning gear. I've got everything that I need to effectively clean. Now, the only thing that you don't see is my actual cleaning rod, which you'll see in a minute, which is in one of the gun bags. So I'm just going to put this stuff aside and we can go on to the next stuff. All right. So I've got my ammo, which, you know, we'll just assume that it's been done. So the ammo is taken care of and packed up. We've got my cleaning supplies, which are taken care of, and I've got situated here. That's all good. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, so there's that. So then there's some of the other housekeeping items. So we've got stuff like my range bag. So let's talk about the range bag, because that's probably the next most important thing to deal with. Range bag sucks for traveling. So it takes up a lot of space. You know, this is, you know, undoubtedly like your command center, and you don't want to feel naked without it, but this is not practical to fly with. If I was driving, 100%, I would pack this thing as tight as I could get it, and it would go out the door like it is, but I don't have that luxury. So I do literally unpack it here just to make sure there isn't anything that I'm missing that's important to me, rather than guessing. And so I just want to be able to see everything that's in here. I don't know where my stapler went. Now there's things in here that, like I've got these are aluminum stake tents. They're really light. They'd be really easy to take. Looking at the forecast, there is nothing that is going to be windy enough that's going to necessitate these, but I don't want to wish I had them, but they're really light. So I'm not worried about that. Let's get the rest of this stuff out. So this is, you know, this is all the stuff that I take to the range normally, which is actually pretty pared down from what I used to take to the range all the time or a match. I've actually really simplified things, which I know looks funny, but really this isn't that much stuff. Okay. So there's my entire range bag out for you to see. And it's really not that much stuff. The only thing that's not in here is my actual rear bag and my donut. That's like the only thing that isn't in here. So very quickly, I'm going to do the I don't care stuff, right? So I don't care about taking my camera tripod. I'm not making shooting videos. It's going to be 50 degrees. I don't care about gloves. If I end up in that situation, I'll go buy a pair. But it's at coldest, it's going to be like 45 or 50. That shouldn't be an issue. I don't need to take an extra towel with me. I will take my air blower, so that's going to stay. I actually made a new barrel cooler. I haven't shown anybody yet, but I found this. And it doesn't blow quite as hard, but it is a little quieter. It runs off AAAs. My other one, I dropped it and broke it. So I figured I'd try playing with making a new one, but I do need to take that with me. So that's gonna go. I never use, I really don't ever use my Kestrel unless I'm filming a video just to show people how fast it's blowing. But I'll probably still take it with me. Here's something you don't think about. So I have good ear protection, and they have good ear protection. Like, not good. They have stuff like this at the range if you don't have ears. But I always take this because I'm sharing the room with people I don't normally sleep around. And you know, there's people like people just do weird things. I do weird things. You know, like nobody's schedule is what they're used to with somebody else in the house. And I've got 5 people in a house. People are going to start walking the halls early or late. They're going to go to the bathroom at weird hours. You know, making breakfast at 4 a.m., making breakfast at 6 a.m., you know, whatever it is. So these aren't for shooting. These are for me to sleep. So if you're traveling and you're staying with anybody that you're not used to or in an area that you're not used to, it really pays. I can't tell you how many times these things have saved my butt from just really loud neighbors when you're at a motel, whatever it is. So those definitely are going with me. This is a rain cap for my objective so that rain doesn't get on my eyepiece rather. So it goes on my eyepiece. It's very simple and easy to take with me, and we're not expecting any rain, but it does double as a sunshade if it's really bad. I have an extra set of, these are action pins for my triggers. So those are going to go with me. This is an extra 4-end stop for my gun. That's going with me. I have a couple extra batteries in my range bag. I don't need them because I have extra batteries with this, but I do have my timer that I'll take with me because that's critical, and I'll actually throw that in here with this. Extra batteries for my Trijicon scope in case I need them. I shouldn't, but you know, you never know. Armor All. So this is what I use on my front and rear bags. I've done it pretty recently. I'm not going to mess with it before the match, but that's going to stay. These are my armlets or whatever the heck you want to call them. I don't know where my other one is.
Hey, John, I had to step away for a couple of minutes. Did I miss your packing of your rain gear?
No, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Huh. I do wish I knew where my other arm thing went. I don't know why it's not here. Well, that's unfortunate. I might have to buy another one. Huh. Well, I'll look later. But so I shoot, especially when I'm in short sleeves. I will put these on when I shoot, and I really enjoy it. It gives you just a little bit of comfort from like the canvas of your mat, and it does help keep the sun off while you're shooting. But I don't know where my other one went, so hopefully I didn't lose it somewhere. All right. So anyway, those will go with me. I have my handles for my rest. Those will go with me. I have my eyes and ears, so that'll go. And these are just those tubes that you get at Home Depot for putting like nuts and stuff in, but I really like them because they tend to do a really nice job for just getting at very quickly. And then this one is for my sunshade. So I've got my padding for my sun filter, basically, my diopter adjustment. It's going to go in there. And this will hold one sunshade. This one will go in here and be protected in this one. So now I have both of my sunshades and they're protected in here, and they'll get packed away. The only other stuff I have that's going to go with me is this is my pull through. I don't know if I've done a video on this or if you guys have seen it, but have you guys ever seen these things, these patch worms? They're
Yeah,
pretty.
I've seen it, but I don't think you've ever used them on film.
On video. Yeah, so it's actually a pretty simple but effective design. It's I mean, at the core of it, it's line trimmer, string trimmer. And then he sort of melts in a plug here that's held in place. And then what he does is he's got all these different sizes that you slide down. And so black happens to be 7mm, and it stops on this little plug. And then you take a patch, and it's tapered at the end here so that it pokes through, and you just can take a patch. And so now instead of pulling like a nasty bore snake through, you're pulling a single patch every time. And I will tell you, this thing is stupidly effective. It's like $12. And it's just really nice. And it comes with like literally everything up to shotgun. Like this big one is shotgun, 410, 22, like all kinds of stuff. But I can't tell you how many times I've been at like really dusty ranges where in between a string, I could just pull this out and just yank a patch through and just pull out, any crap that's gotten in there. So that goes with me everywhere. And if I had to clean my gun in between, so I'm not going to do it for this match, but like sometimes I'll take this one too, which this one has soaked patches. So it's full of wet patches. And so if I have to, I can put a wet patch on and suck it through real quick. But I'm not doing that this time. I don't really do it as much as I used to. I don't like getting the solvent in the action when I can't properly clean the solvent out of the action. So if I do anything, it's just dry patches. But those are going to go with me. Extra Velcro, we talked about that. I don't need it. That's going to stay. Bottle of oil goes with me normally. That's going to stay. My tent stakes go. I already have gloves in my cleaning kit, so those stay. I'm not doing anything that requires an e-reader of any kind, so that's going to stay. What else was there? I think that was pretty much it. Oh, and then this is like my first aid kit that I normally keep. They have people on site for matches like this, so I'm not worried about it. We're not out in like rural anywhere. But I normally keep a small first aid kit with me. I don't need that. What else was in here? So we covered that and that and that. The only other thing I have is this is Velcro, two-way Velcro, and we're gonna take that with us, and it's for a different reason than you probably think, but I'll show you. Okay, so that is everything that I need for my range bag minus my rear bag and my donut and stuff. So this is going to get packed up into like a little duffel, and it'll get put in my suitcase. So this stuff's all pretty easy to deal with. But the question is probably what do you do for the actual match then? How do you how do you get a range bag down to your match? And the answer is I use a tool bag for away matches like this. So I have like a Husky one that's a little bulkier. I ended up with this one. It was like a freebie from, I think it's Makita Ryobi. So it's just, it literally folds down to almost nothing, right? I don't care about it. If it gets damaged, it's not the end of the world. It's got a ton of storage space. So when I get to the match, this will hold my rear bag, my donut, my front armrest, all of the stuff here, my spotting scope. And so it's a lot of storage, but it doesn't take up a lot of room for travel purposes, which ultimately is what I'm after, right? So that's really the big key, is having something like this that you can travel with, that doesn't put a hurt on taking it. Now, like that 511 bag I have technically folds down, and it doesn't fold down. It folds down flat, but it doesn't fold down like this. And I don't feel like pulling it apart, but it's still pretty, like, it's probably about like that. So, it's definitely bulkier. It's got a lot more pockets on it and all that kind of stuff. So for me, this thing's perfect. It just goes in the bottom of my bag. It takes up almost no space. It adds a little bit of extra padding to what I'm doing. And that's it. I have just a very cheap shoulder strap for it. In fact, I might even switch it out for one that takes up a little less space this time. I think I've got this one here. We'll go even smaller. Yeah, we'll go with this one. This one's kind of in between. I have so many of these things sitting around. Anyway, this one's got a little bit of a shoulder pad, but it takes up a little less space. This one's just a little bulkier. I mean, they all pretty much do the same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that. Yeah, what the hell? I'll take the original one. It's got plastic snaps and it's just a little lighter, so it should take up about the same space. All right, so we're going to put that inside here. Still folds up nice and small. So that's going to be my range bag. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Like I know guys who will literally go to Walmart or something and buy a $5 duffel bag and throw it away at the end of the match. You know, it's not that big a deal. So, all right, so there's my range bag. And then here's the stuff for my range bag. And I'm not ready to pack all that stuff up, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in here so that it doesn't get lost. Placed in the meantime. And so we'll take care of packing that up a little bit later. All right, so that is my front rest, my range bag, and my cleaning stuff. So then the rest of everything is like pulling together all the pieces, the guns, you know, my scopes. What do I do with those? And so let me just show you things kind of on a one-off basis here. So the first thing is my shooting mat. So, you know, again, I have to make considerations because I'm flying. And let me just grab something real quick. There's things here that I wouldn't do if I was driving. You know, you can always make different considerations if you're driving. Or having somebody take gear for you, whatever. So this is my normal shooting mat. Okay, it is big and it is thick and there's no easy way to pack it up. I could technically fold this in half and I could probably fit it inside a suitcase, but I would also be taking up about half of my suitcase with it. I could have thrown it in somebody's truck if I wanted to, but I didn't want to. I have a weird thing with obligation and stuff like that. So I just don't like inconveniencing people. So anyway, so for away matches, this is what I've got, which is, and I've done a video on this. It's not on Patreon, it's on YouTube, but I did a whole video on these, but you know, like different size mats. But this is like $20 or something on Amazon, and I've shot off this thing a ton of times. The bottom of it has been Scotch guarded, so I sprayed. The bottom has been Scotch guarded a couple times. So if there's any moisture, it won't come through. There shouldn't really be too much, but there's nothing worse than getting up and kind of being wet because you're on top of wet grass or something like that. But it's thin. I'm not going to get any bounce out of it. I don't have to worry about it. And I'm very confident shooting on it because I practice shooting on it. So even though the other one is my normal mat, I don't have any issue shooting off of this one. I had my druthers, I'd rather have the other mat with me, but you know, wish in one hand, right? So here's the difference though. So, you know, big difference between giant, you know, 10-inch roll that's, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll cover the rifles in a minute there. Sorry, I didn't realize people were typing me on. Okay, so somebody took off, but I'll cover the bag, what I'm doing for rifle bags in a minute. Anyway, so here's, so that's my mat. Very easy, very portable. Again, it fits easily in my makeshift range bag that I've got, and I don't have any worries about that. When it comes to cleaning guns at away matches, I've done everything from just putting my gun on a kitchen table. Sometimes somebody will bring a rest. You know, there's different ways that people do it. I actually just picked this up back on Black Friday, and I haven't actually flown with it, but I've traveled with it, and it's really nice. So this is the PMA stand. And while I don't use it at home for normal cleaning, if I'm cleaning two guns at once, I'll pull it out. But really, really well made. Like they're you know, like they're a little pricey for how, you know, like I don't want to say how basic it is, but they're really, really nice. But the best feature about them is they break down really nicely. So let me. For traveling, they're incredibly stable. And this is the oversized version. So it's actually got 2 slots on the bottom here. So you can make it shorter for like hunting rifles or longer for like our rifles. But now this can travel by itself. And then these screws go in here. There's one. But the way this thing breaks down just makes it so nice for taking different places. So now here's everything that I've got. I've got 2 little flat plates. I've got my 2 stirrups, and I've got my rod. So now I can just pack these away anywhere that's convenient for me. And that makes it nice. You know, these are already rubber coated, so they're not really going to cause any damage. This is, you know, about the only projectile, you know, big thing you've got. But again, it's not horrible. So we're going to put that aside now. Pack that up. All right, so let's talk about the guns. I'm trying to think the easiest way to show you guys this without it being weird. All right, let's just do this. I'll try bringing it up here on the bench. Let me clear something off of this here. I'll have to kind of put it at an angle so that it sits right. All right. So a couple things to understand about traveling with rifles or guns in general is that every single TSA agent you encounter will interpret the rules differently. And every airline employee will slightly interpret the rules a little differently. At least that has been my experience so far. So I try to make it as easy and as stress-free as possible, because if you remember, I actually got stopped because I had a bolt in my backpack. And let me tell you, I will do everything in my power to never have that happen again. So here's how I'm traveling now. Now, I have traveled in the past with like a Pelican 1750, where I've taken the gun fully apart, cut out the foam for the stock, and then the action, the scope, and all that kind of stuff. This is how a couple friends of mine travel, and they've had really good success with it. One of the problems that you face with big guns, especially, is traveling with any kind of rifle case. And Steve had asked that, you know, what do you do for a rifle bag? Well, it's normally really tough because these things are bulky as hell. But you got to have something to transport your rifle to the range with. Now, there are guys who will just bring their Pelicans. I really don't recommend it. It is not an easy option when you got dust and dirt and, you know, limited space, and it is cumbersome to try to bring a Pelican to the firing line, to have to uncase your gun and then case it back up and all that stuff. If it's your only option, then that's fine. And depending on the range you're at, you can get away with different rules. Like some ranges don't care as long as it's in something. So somebody might bring just a really soft nylon bag that their gun just kind of goes in, with a cinch tie on it. Or, you know, like some states have different rules for transport. So you got to make sure you know where you're going. I have in the past purchased just inexpensive hunting rifle bag off Amazon that would roll up maybe about that big in diameter. And, you know, it wasn't tiny, but it was manageable, and one of these guns would fit in it. But now what I am doing is I am actually traveling with the gun assembled. Okay, so I have, trying not to knock stuff off my bench here. So there is my gun. My gun is inside. There's a Velcro strap in here. I will Velcro it down. I just don't have it right now because I got to do something. But the gun will be in here. There's no scope on it. Okay, so this is strictly the rifle barrel and action together. This is a very heavy duty case. It's Creedmoor. It's very thick padding, and because of the size of this case fits in extremely tight, and it's not going anywhere. To help reinforce the fact that it's not going anywhere, I will be, after we are done with this call and I'm doing my final packing, I'm actually going to put clothes in here. So I will have some shirts or a sweatshirt or something like that. In fact, let me see if I have something to show you here. So I have a pair of shorts that need to go with me. Well, that's great. I can use it and pad it up in here. I'll put, a couple more things in here, and then it all just gets pushed down. And then in this particular case, I can fit my spotting scope stand right here in the corner. So it'll sit like that, and everything is protected and tight. My bolt is over here. And I think I also have in this one my Fix-It sticks and a couple other my hat and a couple other things. And what I can do is put some of my range bag items that we just pulled in my other one of these. So this is just going to sit like that. I've got just a couple other little things that go here. This is going to, clamp down, and we're good to go. The nice thing.
You mentioned you take your scope off. Is that normal travel? Is that what you normally do?
It's about 50-50. I know a lot of guys, what they'll do is if they have the 1750s or something, they'll pull the stock off of the action and they'll leave the scope on the action and cut that part out so that it's separated, because that makes it short enough to fit in a 1750. This happens to be a special Pelican. It's called a Storm 3410. It's the only case they make that will fit a 52-inch rifle without disassembling it. So I've got this gray one here, and then I've got a green one over there. And they're pricey. They're about $300. But there's a couple advantages to using this kind of method. Now, again, this is the first time I've done this, so I'm not going to proclaim to be an expert with this type of travel. I'm pretty familiar with the cutout method on a bigger case, and that works just fine. But the advantages that you have here is, one, you're dealing with a lighter case. If you think about Alaska, so if you're not flying first class, you're going to pay $30 for the first bag, $40 for the second, and $100 for the third. And one of those bags, once you hit that $100 mark for the third bag, one of them can be overweight, meaning over 50 pounds. And unless you want to keep racking up fees, everything else has to be under 50 pounds. So what I have here is a 44-pound rifle case, maybe 45 or 46 once I get closed in there. I always leave a couple pounds to spare because I have been at airports where they have inconsistent scales. I've literally seen people go from one scale to the other at ticketing and have different weights. So I try to leave a couple pounds. Even on my other cases, I would try to do that if I was able to. But this one here allows me to take my soft case that I really like traveling with because it's a lot more protective. And this has everything I need. It's got a handle, it's got the wheels, and I'm going to show you another kind of good aspect of traveling with this kind of case as it relates to getting through the airport. So let me kind of.
I'm sorry, John. Back to the scope. Why do you take the scope off?
Oh, because I don't want it to get damaged.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, one, it's tough to put a scope rifle in this case the way it wants to fit. But two, I would rather have the scope. If I don't have it isolated in a hard case, like in its own little section, like I used to, I just don't want to take a chance that it's going to get damaged on there. So this is how my scopes travel. So I have these neoprene covers. They're just Velcroed over. I've got hard covers on both eyepieces. So I've got my flip ups covering the front and the back. And then these are going to go in my carry-on. So this is the only part of a gun that's allowed to go in carry-on. And so both of my scopes will go in carry-on with me.
So now you just have to re-zero both your guns.
No, they'll zero right off the bat. I'm not worried.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then my spotting scope. So this will also go in my carry-on. And especially like this adds a lot of weight. Like these are heavy. Like a good spotting scope is not light because you've got heavy glass. Like this spotting scope weighs almost 6 pounds on its own. So, you think about starting to throw stuff, you start, thinking about throwing, every 6 pounds starts adding up in checked baggage. So this and my spotting scope, or this and my railer scopes will end up in my carry-on. All right. So that's how I do all that. Yeah. As far as the scopes go, if you're using good rings, and you're using good procedures to get them back on, your gun, meaning a repeatable process. So like in my case, I'm using torque wrench for the screws. So every time they go on, they get 45 inch-pounds of torque on the lateral to attach it. I'm always, when I mount my scopes, I'm always sure to push forward on the scopes while I tighten so that they're fully engaging the rail in the front, because that can have an effect, because there's a little bit of slop between where your pick rail fits and the actual part of the scope that locks in there. So you want to push your scope forward, you want to lock it down. And as long as you've done all that right, like I've tested taking my scopes on and off. In fact, I double checked yesterday and I pulled at the range. I took my scope off, tightened all the scope rings up, not the scope rings, but the mounting rails up as if I was traveling, then loosened them all up, put the scope back on, tightened it up, and it went right back to the exact same point of zero. So I have very good confidence in that. So I don't worry about that too much. Yeah. Okay. So I've got the two. I'm sorry. Do you have a question?
Yeah, just the gun case there to get on the airplane. Do you have to lock it?
Yes.
Okay. What's the story with the locks?
So technically, if you look at the TSA rules, and I'll show you here real quick. So there's a couple things you have to abide by. So on this particular case, there's a locking hole here, a locking hole there, a locking hole here, and a locking hole here. So there's 4 locking holes. One of the kind of requirements of a case being locked with a firearm is that it has to have enough locks on it that somebody cannot reach into the case. Like if I only put a lock let's say I only put a lock over here, I might be able to undo all the latches and still pry this end open enough to reach in and grab something. And that's what they don't want. So on this particular case, you would need to have locks on both ends so that the case can't open up enough to be able to grab in there. There's another rule that I've heard that says you have to have a lock on every lock hole that's there, which would be all 4. I honestly can't tell you if that's a real thing or not. I haven't seen that be a real thing, but I have heard that if there's 4 locking holes, you're supposed to have 4 locks on it. So I don't know. Now, there's a couple ways that you can do locks for guns. I actually just read the other day, because there's been a long-standing thing that says guns are the only thing that don't have TSA locks on them. And, I've had struggles through airports where something, they take your gun. Not every airport will check your gun before you go through security. And, like when I was in Tennessee, there literally was a guy that came running up the ramp before we were boarding. And he said, "I need the key to your gun. We have to inspect it." And I said, "Great, I'll come with you." And they said, "You can't come with me." And I, so then I'm giving a guy who is claiming to be a representative, and came off the gangway, a key to my gun. It's a little unnerving. I'm not going to lie. It's a little rough. Now, these are really heavy duty. These are like class 5 locks. I'm sure they can be picked, but they're very tough duty locks, and they will fit on here just fine. And I've had good luck with them. But you are, from what I've read recently, technically allowed to put TSA locks on a gun too. And I didn't think that was a thing. And I'll probably do a little more reading tonight just to double check. But I do suppose that if you had TSA locks on your gun, it would make life easier. the theory is that, from what I have been told in the past, that only certain agents were supposed to check guns, and if you have a TSA lock on there, it could expose it to people who shouldn't be looking at the guns. I don't know. Like I said, literally every airport I've gone to has given me some different rigmarole about this whole thing. So you just kind of do your best. But I did find that these master locks work really well. They have this long, straight shank on them, and for locking up stuff like this, like the hard cases, they do a really good job of being secure. Now, it's only secure as a TSA, like it still has a TSA lock on it. To be honest, if I double check tonight and it looks like TSA locks are approved on guns, then to be honest, I'll probably put the TSA locks on just so that my gun or me aren't held up for some reason. Because I had probably a 5-minute window between missing a plane and, well, maybe 10-minute window between missing a plane and getting my key back and making sure that my guns were okay. And I didn't like that feeling. So I'll probably have these locks with me. Portland has now, from what I've seen, added a pre-security large bag item check area, which I'm hoping will make this whole process a little better. My wife will be on the ticketing side with me. So if I don't need these, then great, I'll give them back to her, but at least I'll have them with me. So I've got a set of 4 of these, and then I've got some of these. So I feel pretty confident being able to use those. You also want to make sure that you've got, I've got, all my hang tags for my bags for whatever bag I want to use. And so, making sure that you have, especially on the one with the gun, making sure that you have your phone number. And, well, I guess you guys all have my phone number now. So, I have extra tags, but yeah, so these go on everything. They're heavy duty. They got this hard rubber tag on them. I've had really good luck with these. They're just inexpensive ones from like the Container Store or whatever, but so far they've served me pretty well. But they need to be able to get a hold of you if they have a question about the gun. I'm hoping that because this is a simpler setup, I don't have anything else besides the gun and, some clothes in here. There's no rear bag, there's no scopes, there's no, there's less stuff for them to be concerned about on X-ray. I'm hoping that I have less problems with these than I've had with the full-size Pelicans in the past. And I think weight has a lot to do with it too. The heavier your gun bag or gun case is, the more likely it's probably going to get inspected or have problems. So it has wheels. I can technically wheel it on its own, but let me show you. Can you guys, my heater just went on. Can you guys hear that, or is it howling in the back?
No, you're fine.
Okay. I can turn it off if needs. So here's how this is going to work. This is my suitcase. This will be my oversized bag. And I'll show you how it's going to fit in here in a minute. But this bag is going to have my front rest, all my ammo, my rear bag, and maybe some clothes.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, ammo. I've heard different things about ammo. Is there a limit to how many rounds you can bring with you?
Yeah, sorry, I talked about that in the beginning. There's Alaska is the most generous airline, so Alaska will allow 50 pounds of ammo, whereas every other airline only allows 11 pounds of ammo. And you do have to declare it when you're at the gate ticketing. So when you're there, they will ask, or if they don't ask, you need to declare it that you have ammo. And supposedly, if you don't declare that you have ammo, and God forbid there was an accident with the plane, and somehow the ammo caused additional damage, then you could be liable. So you do want to declare what you have. One other thing with the ammo, they will ask, is it in like, again, every airport's asked it differently, but they'll say something like, is it in an appropriate or is it in an approved container? These Click-It clams are considered, from everything I've read and from what they claim as a company, these are FAA approved containers for ammo. What they don't want to see is Ziploc bags with ammo or, you know, some weird way of transporting them. So some guys will, you know, they'll take like those MTM boxes and then cut out their foam and put the MTM boxes in there. Some guys will take empty ammo boxes and just put their ammo in it. You know, maybe they have a bunch of empty hunting round boxes or something. But, you know, these are, I've never had a problem so far, you know, knock on wood. But if they say, is it an, you know, is your ammo in an approved container? Yes, it is in an approved container and it's safe. So this is my Samsonite. Again, this is new to me, but I'm liking what I've practiced with it. It is really hard to find a square suitcase. So this is relatively square. Most suitcases are going to be a little narrower and a little taller. You could probably still get away with it, but having a lower profile for what I'm doing with it is sort of what's critical. So here's what's happening with my guns. So this gun, going from my car to ticketing, sits here, okay? And I have Velcro to attach if I need to, but it is going to end up looking like this. Hang on a second. So if I need to, this is how I can travel through the airport and be relatively, you know, stress-free about being able to have everything towed behind me. Because, you know, you normally, if you pull one of these, you have, you know, one hand on it. But I can do something as simple as this. If I'm going a long way. So I can go all the way through here, through my handle, come back over it, and now it's a little more secure. And now I can push my way all the way through the airport with relative ease, instead of one in each hand and trying to, you know, kick this bag forward. Again, I don't like relying on people. You know, I'm not always going to have friends or my wife or whatever. There's times where I, you know, travel alone, and being able to do it this way is without a doubt about the easiest thing to do. So that's the other great thing with these shorter cases. This is a lot harder to do with the bigger Pelicans. So that's how this setup works. And once I get these all situated, you know, then they'll get locked up. Obviously, I still have stuff to put in and figure out, but you can see how easy this is. You know, if you're at ticketing, trying to push your way through that line, I've done it the other way. It really sucks. When I was in Tennessee, I think it's Bob Allen makes a double rifle that's actually bigger than a 1750. It's like 4 inches longer. And with my gun, my scope, spotting scope, rear bag, like I had a ton of stuff in there. I actually had an extra barrel. It weighed like 87 pounds. I mean, it was ridiculously heavy. And I had that plus a 50-pound duffel bag on top, and I was trying to pull that with one hand. And you think, oh, well, the Pelican's got a wheel, and you just drag it behind you. Well, you still have to hold up 125 pounds as you're trying to drag through airport, everywhere. And then you can't stop easily with it. You either have to lay the whole thing down so you got 5 feet taking up space, or you're trying to stand it up and it's awkward. Like I was done after that. So that's why I was committed to finding a new process for all of this. So I've actually taken what you see with those 2 rifles and that Samsonite, and I've actually wheeled it. I've got a big driveway, and I've wheeled it around. I've practiced what it's like, where its tipping points are, what I need to be concerned about. And so far, I really like the way that works. So any questions on that?
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay. So let's look at the suitcase. Now these are, like I said, really hard to find, but finding anything that works in the same way would be good. And I'll show you kind of, again, this is still figuring it out exactly, but it's got this upper section. Now the upper section doesn't have any issues. It's a perfect shell of what you see here. And the advantage in that is that it will fit 2 of these ammo boxes really nicely in here. So I can get one there and then this one here. And then I can put some other stuff above it. This will all zip up to hold it in place. So that'll be my ammo, and then some of my clothes up there, most likely. The down here gets a little trickier because there's the 2 rails for the handle here, right? So I've got a handle. The rails that hold that take up some of the space. You can see them here. So you have to start getting a little more creative with what you do here. Now, I can, so I have to be able to fit my front rest in there. And this is the only unknown. Like, nobody can tell me if this can technically go on carry-on or not. So I'm not there yet, but this will get put up with the ammo. So it'll sit under the ammo. That's easy. I've got things like, this is something else I do, which is just an easy breakdown cooler. So it folds up real nice. It's easy to take. It does its job for the day. I use water bottles for ice. So when I get to Phoenix, I'll buy a case of water. I'll throw a bunch of them in the freezer. 1 or 2 of them go in here. That acts as my ice. And if I need to drink it later, great. So that goes with me. Now I'm going to squish that down between the rails here. So that'll fit real nice. This, because it's heavier and my bottom, this is where my wheels are. So I want this weight to be down at the bottom as much as possible. So there's my bag. And so now it's sitting, it's a little bit padded on top of the cooler. I've got a little bit of room for clothes there. And then I need to be able to fit in some of this stuff. So this will go over on this side in the little cubby cutout. I've got my donut. That'll go over here on this side. So that stays out of the way. And then I can put my rear bag in here. And then I'll pack around it with clothes and things like that. When it comes to clothes, how you stay probably makes a big difference. If you're staying in a hotel, you don't have a lot of options for laundry necessarily. So you typically have to take more clothes. When I rent houses almost everywhere I go. It's just easier, and honestly, it's cheaper most of the time. But I've got full-size washer and dryer available to me. I'm only taking maybe 2 days of clothes, maybe 3 at the most, and I'll do laundry a couple times while I'm there. It's going to be about 45, 40 at the lowest end for the mornings, and then it'll warm up to about 70. So I don't need a lot of cold weather gear. I do have this. This is a 32 below jacket. It's super warm. It doesn't have a hood, so I don't like having a lot of hoods. So I like wearing hooded stuff normally, but not when I'm shooting. I don't like the extra stuff. So if I need a jacket or it's cold, at least I've got this. And this all packs up into this little bag. So it makes it really easy to store away. But everything I do is about lightweight and easy to take. So all my shooting shirts are like Under Armour performance shirts. They're thin, they're light, they're easy to shoot in. I'll take a sweatshirt with me. Obviously, I've got this if it gets really cold. I might take one long sleeve shirt, but the reality is the weather's looking pretty stable. We're not expecting any big changes. And again, I'm an adult, so if I'm somewhere and I need to buy something, I can go buy it if it really gets bad. But, there's my jacket. So my jacket's packed in there now. But that's not bad for having a full-size jacket. And depending on what I wear, like I might wear this on the plane. I could always wear this on the plane. You know, I could pack this in my backpack. Like some of this, I'm still going to tweak around after the call and you know, get it figured out. But that's the general idea there. The only thing I don't have figured out yet is the third box of ammo, and that's the only thing that's going to get a little tricky. Is this section up here is real nice and easy. Like we talked about, it fits 2 of these boxes great, but there's only maybe 5 inches, 6 inches over here. So it's a little bit tough. So there's a chance that depending on how many boxes I'll end up with, because I'll end up with 360, so 60. So I'm going to have 4 extra cartons. So there's a chance that I might just put those 4 cartons. I might wrap them in a towel and like duct tape them or something, and just stick them up in front of that instead of taking a third one of these, because it is pretty bulky. My other option is to try to figure out a way, if I only have 4 of these boxes, what else could I put in here and then put it in here. But again, with my rear rest, it starts getting a little tight. I can make it work, but I think the reality is, after looking at it last night and playing with it, I'm probably going to end up with just 4 of these boxes by themselves, just wrapped up tight. And it'll be the 4 that are like those blow off practice ones, you know, ones that I don't care quite as much about. So that's the suitcase. And that's just gonna, again, zip up. And this will be my oversized bag. So, you know, this one is definitely going to be over 50 pounds. You know, I'm going to have 30 something pounds worth of ammo. I've got a 20-pound front rest. But again, it's Samsonite. They're good quality. It holds up real well. And, you know, I can get it around really easily. So that's the suitcase. You know, I've got all this extra foam. I leave it in so that'll go back in the hard cases when I get back, just because I don't have anywhere else to put it, but I never use it. What else do we have? So that's my other carry-on if I need it. So that's just a basic, you know, everybody's got one kind of carry-on. I may or may not use it. It's out here in case I do. I really am hoping that I can just travel with that and then my backpack. So I've got a big 511 backpack that I love. And I will probably, like in here, will probably just be, that's my spotting scope right there. And then my 2 bigger scopes. And I'll put those in there. So that's probably where that's going to go. I'd rather not have a 4th bag if I don't have to. I won't get charged for it since technically that's my personal bag. And, you know, so I'll just have this one. So that one's going to cost me $100 because it's a 3rd bag and it's oversized. But they don't charge you twice for oversized and 3rd bag. So that's why if you have 2 rifles in 1 bag, make one of them oversized, because I don't want to say you're saving money, but you're certainly not getting charged double for it. So it's not a horrible way to go. But I mean, that's literally it, guys. Like what you see, that's all that's going to the match with me. I mean, aside from toiletries, you know, and a little bit of clothes. And again, the clothes, it's gonna be the same weather all week. You know, my goal is I'll probably take 2 pairs of pants. No matter how hot it is, I always shoot in pants. I've got 511 pants that I love. I can't stand shooting in shorts. It just bugs me. So I'll be taking 2 pairs of 511 pants and I'll just wash them. I'll have probably 3 Under Armour shirts. Those are very small, lightweight. You know, whatever, 2 or 3 pairs of underwear, socks, you know, nothing fancy. And that's it. I mean, I'll buy all my food when I'm there. I might take a couple snacks with me on the plane, but other than that, it's not a big deal. But I mean, literally what I showed you is that's it. That's all that's coming to the match with me. I don't have, you know, a valet that's bringing cases of stuff or anything like that. Like what you saw is it. So, you know, if you come and see me, I'm not going to magically have something different with me. And I'm okay with that. I like traveling simple. The less, I will say, every time I've flown, and for that matter, every time I've traveled long distance, I have stripped something away. I think I'm almost pretty much down to as bare bones as it can get. There's one thing that I am taking that I didn't mention that I think it's important, depending on your process. But I do have obviously my bore scope, so this is just my test long that'll go with me. And just because of how I clean and what I'm trying to do, I want to have that with me. It also doesn't hurt. You know, a buddy of mine last year, he was maybe 3 shots from being done, and he was doing very well. And he was about 3 shots down from being finished on this relay, puts a round in, can't close the bolt. He's like, what the hell? Pulls that round out, puts another one in, can't close the bolt. Tries hitting it with compressed air, puts a round in, can't close the bolt. Takes a bolt from his other gun, tries closing it, can't close the bolt. So clearly something's up in the chamber somewhere. Takes a brush, like just a nylon brush that somebody had, pushes it in the chamber, can't close the bolt with a round in it. He's like, what the heck? Well, luckily he travels with a bore scope, and at that point, at a big match, especially at a big match, you can call what's called a mechanical. And if you get a ref that knows what they're doing, which they should at a match like that, and they did, then he has the opportunity, because of a mechanical malfunction, to correct it and continue shooting, even if time expires. And there's a procedure for it. But, you know, at that point, he said, look, I've got a mechanical issue. I'm going to need extra time. And then he's got a certain amount of time to correct the issue. And he got out his bore scope, and sure enough, he looks in there, and there was a tiny piece of steel or stainless steel or something that had probably been on a piece of brass before it, because he wet tumbled, probably just a little piece of stainless steel. And it was flattened, like perfect round disc had flattened right against the neck. And that was preventing the round from engaging all the way. And because of the bore scope, he was then able to get in there with something else and pop that piece out. And then he was able to chamber and finish his rounds in overtime, and he was good to go. So I mean, having a bore scope is, you know, it can be a lifesaver for sure. But you know, just from a cleaning process at home, you know, when I get back, if I want to see, you know, is it getting overly dirty, dusty, you know, what's going on during the day, whatever it is, and then when I clean, I want to make sure I'm getting everything out of there. Is my carbon ring completely gone? I don't want to take any chances. I'm just trying to look and see if there really is anything else that I'm not telling you guys about. But to be honest, that's it. Like, that's all that's going to go with me. Yeah, that's it. Now, I've contemplated not taking my big spotting scope stand. I do have this, which I do really like. And this fully supports my spotting scope and works fantastic, and it takes up a lot less space. So I do have this as a backup if I end up packing everything up and I'm like, maybe I won't bring the full-size spotting scope stand. But having a full-size spotting scope stand just makes life a little easier when you're scoring for the guy next to you. But other than that, it's not a big deal. So that's it. Any questions or surprises or things that seem screwy to you that you don't understand?
I have a question, but it's slightly off topic. It's
Sure.
related to primers. I was doing a ladder test for primers, and I just wonder, can you crush a primer enough to set it off?
Probably, but I think it would have to be really, really tough. I mean, like I've done tests where I've gone up to like 12 or 14 thousandths below flush. What you're more likely to do is what they call like crushing the cake or cracking the cake, which is getting to a point where you're taking what's a nicely compressed. So, you know, like the priming compound goes in wet and then it dries, right? But if you crush it too much, then you shatter it and it crumbles inside the cup a little bit. And then people say that you get, I've never tested it, but there's a widespread theory that if you crush a primer too much, then you crush that cake and it becomes less effective or burns at a different rate. So I think there is the potential to over crush a primer. I am sure at some point you could detonate a primer on your priming tool by seating too far, but I don't know why you'd ever go any further than 12 or 14 thousandths. And I know guys who do that on a regular basis. I mean, unless you have, I guess you'd have to have like something on your priming ram that you missed, that was applying additional like focused pressure, and then you're over crushing, and then maybe it detonates or something. I don't know. I mean, they're explosives. Things are going to happen. I can't tell you for sure.
Oh, thanks, John.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
At
that's
the,
good.
at the end of the day, it's a little bomb. So
Yeah. Well, that's why I kind of wanted to ask the question.
yeah,
But it's about 9,000 right now. It seems to be just about perfect for me.
yeah. I would say I know a lot of guys that shoot in that 7,000 to 9,000 range. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, well, I must have done something right then.
What else, guys?
A couple of questions. One,
Yeah.
when you're walking from your car to your transport, what I'm gathering is you carry three things: a water cooler, a gun bag, and then your new portable range bag. That's what you walk from transport up to wherever the shooting location is. How do you do it?
Yeah, correct. So like once I'm at the match, let's say I get to the house and I unpack everything. The next morning when I go to the match, I would have my gun bag with the gun in it. I would have my little cooler or whatever. And then I usually take my backpack. Like I'm sort of weird, but my backpack is my security blanket, so I'll have like some stuff in it, and so my backpack always travels with me. And then I would have that makeshift range bag. Yeah, and most of the so what happens at these matches is almost everywhere you can drive to the firing line and park. Now this happens to be a larger match, and you end up with like 3 or 4 rows of cars. So you might, if you think about going to like a concert, you might be like third row of parking. So you might be walking through a couple rows of cars, but you're going to know where you're shooting. Like even at Ben Avery, it's 100 lanes wide, which that's like probably a couple hundred yards long. What do you say, Damon? Like 200, 250 yards?
Yeah, it's pretty substantial, and there's 2 parking lot, on each side.
Yeah. So at the 1,000-yard line, you have to park in the actual parking lot, which then you have to walk up a little stairway or a ramp. But then we also shoot Palma one of the days, which is 800, 900, and 1,000. And I will just tell you, F-class guys hate Palma because we don't see the point in it. The Palma is really a holdover for the sling shooters.
I
But
think they feel the same too. Palma shooters.
I hate Palmas. Like Palmas are the worst for F-class because it doesn't. You can never win at 800 or 900, but like you can definitely lose there, and it's just really weird. But anyway, so for like 800, everybody will drive out to the 800-yard line, and then there'll be a couple rows of parking, and then but you'll know, okay, I'm on lane 87, so you'll park kind of on that end. You might have to walk maybe 100 feet or 150 feet with your stuff and make a couple trips.
It's not a quarter-mile walk at the worst. It's nothing like.
Oh
that.
No. I mean, it's a very short walk no matter what. Even at the 1,000-yard line, the parking lot is right behind the line. It's just an elevated line, so you just have to go up like 2 little stairs or like a long ramp on each side. But it's very easy to do. Now, there's some guys that'll bring carts, like garden carts. I have one. I don't ever use it anymore, but they'll bring like those fold-up wagons from Costco, or the boat dock carts are really popular, those metal ones. And they'll put all their stuff in there. And then from Palma, they'll walk 800 to 900 to 1,000. I'm too lazy for that if I don't have to. So, there's 3 of us sharing a truck. And so what'll happen is I can almost guarantee you that between 3 of us, there will be like 2 of us on one relay and 1 of us on another. Like it'll be pretty tough for us all to be on the same exact relay. So it just becomes the responsibility of whoever's the last shooter in that group. Let's say I shoot first at 800 and then I go to the pits. Well, my buddies are going to be left on the firing line because they would have come out of the pits. I'll still be in the pits when everybody's done at 800, but then I'll have my stuff loaded in the truck since I was done shooting. They finish shooting at 800. They jump in the truck. They move it to 900. Now they shoot first at 900. I'm still in the pits. Then we switch again. They stay in the pits. Then I drive the truck to 1,000. And it's really easy. Like I know some people that really freak out over the whole like how to manage multiple people in a car, and I don't want to lose the truck and it's going to go somewhere. It's like it's not that big a deal. Like you just tell your buddy, hey, I'm going to the pits. You're going to be last to shoot. Take it to 900, and and then I'll be coming out of 900, and I'll move it to 1,000 or whatever it is. So it's not that big a deal. But some guys like wheeling their carts. They just park at the 1,000. and they'll bring all their stuff out to 800 and then walk back to 900 and then walk back to 1,000. I've done that. I think we've all done that at some point, and if you can drive out there, you might as well. So
The other thing was any electronics at a match like this. I know some with the. Do you bring an iPad? Do you bring a phone out to the line? What kind of stuff do you?
So yeah, technically no electronics are allowed on the line. This is not an electronic target match. So you're not going to see any iPads or phones. And I will say that like the whole electronic target thing has caused a lot of controversy over what's allowed at the line compared to what it used to before there were electronic targets. You know, it used to be no electronics, right? And what they were trying to really cut down on is, you know, maybe my buddy's, you know, over on the other side of the range and he's not shooting and he's watching the flags or other shooters, and he's going to somehow relay me information that would be advantageous, right? So an unfair advantage. And you know, obviously cell phones, everybody's got them now, and with e-targets, you have to have a phone or a tablet of some kind. So I will say there has sort of been a loosening of that rule. However, I can guarantee you, especially at a high level match, like at a club match, I don't think anybody's going to care. But at a high level match like this, if I'm on the line and I'm shooting and a referee or another competitor happens to see me pull out my phone and I'm looking at when, like let's say I'm on the line and all of a sudden I pull up this, right? Like, where is it? So I pull up my high power wind lab, and all of a sudden I start dialing something in, and I'm like, oh, it looks like the wind's going there. Okay, great. I know what my hold is. I can guarantee you the guy scoring for me is going to go, you need to put that away. And if I don't put it away, he's going to get a ref. Like this kind of thing isn't tolerated. Now, you can do this anytime before shooting starts. So if I'm in prep period, I can have this out, and I can be like, okay, it looks like the wind is coming from here, and it looks like it's, you know, about this strong. Okay, that might give me my first hold, you know, get me on target or whatever. Like that's totally legal, but this needs to go away as soon as we go for fire. You know, as soon as they say, okay, range is hot, you know, this will begin your 30 minutes, whatever. This kind of stuff goes away. But here's what's weird. Digitally, this has to go away. However, if I have a paper version of this, it's totally allowed. So, you know, like there's lots of guys that go out there and have, you know, entire graphs with, you know, wind and quarterings and, you know, hold offs. And I mean, they have massive charts that they'll take out there, and you'll see them kind of flip through, or they've got them laminated. Some guys have like a marker, and they'll be plotting while they're doing this and that. So there are a lot of things that are allowed, but yeah, there is a weird thing with electronics, even with headsets during team match. So it used to be that you couldn't have wireless headsets because they were worried there were people not with the team who were relaying information to the team because it's wireless. And now there's plenty of teams that use wireless headsets, stuff like that. Oh, Damon, I didn't tell you, but I bought a set of wired headsets. So I've got headsets for team match now, but yeah, it's you know, electronics is a weird thing.
And just a request for future stuff. At some point, I'm starting to shop for a spotting scope. So, you know, information on spotting scopes. I thought about asking you, but I'm not. I'm just shopping. I'm just looking, so I got time.
Yeah,
So
the biggest thing with spotting scopes is you have, like, I will just tell you, like, I don't mind talking about it for a second, but you have to kind of figure out your budget before you start shopping, because it's really easy to keep upping yourself with spotting scopes. So be really honest about what you want to do with it, and be really honest about what you want to spend. And then, like, me and other people can definitely help you find something. Like, I can tell you without a doubt the best scope for $1,000 and the best scope for $3,000 and the best scope for $400. Like, there are things within each range. But, you know, like sometimes people come in and be like, hey, I want a spotting scope so I can see my impacts at 600 yards. Yeah, it's called a telescope. You know, you're not going to get that out of a spotting scope. You know, so be realistic about what you want.
In my direction is I'm starting to work on wind reading, and I just going past reading flags and want to start reading Mirage. And so I just need the cost isn't really a factor. I mean, I'd hate to spend $6,000 on a Swarovski, but I could, but I just would hate to spend that kind of money.
So I'll be honest, there's actually some of the more expensive scopes that are less good for reading Mirage.
And that's why I just don't know. I don't want to spend the money and then it's
Well,
not.
when you get ready, send me a message. I'll be happy to help, and we can definitely turn it into a video.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Any other
How do we send you a message, John?
in Patreon?
Yeah, just go to
You,
Patreon and-
In Patreon, you can just send me a message.
okay, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There should be a little. There's like it looks like a little text message boxes that are talking to each other.
Okay.
I
Yeah, I'll
mean,
figure it out. My Kate wants a snowbird, and I'm figuring, well, if I got a snowbird, I might as well be somewhere where that is good, like where you guys are. If you want to have a chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. Anything else, you guys? Any other questions or anything about traveling?
Yeah, there was I mean, I do.
Yeah.
That was a lot of information, John. Is there, I mean, would it be, I don't know how much one, I guess I could go through, you're going to post a video, right? I guess I could go through and I didn't take notes for this one is what I was wondering if you had were you working off a script or do you have a spreadsheet that you check off as you go through and do all this stuff?
Well, no, I never use a script. Just so you know, in the videos and stuff, I don't ever have a script. That's just all. That's all up here. But
All right, because that was a lot of stuff. That was pretty amazing that you were able to systematically go through.
But I do have a checklist.
Organized.
So this is my checklist in notes.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I will go back through and tap on that. In fact, hang on a second.
Hey, Damon, while he's doing that, I put a note in. What kind of primer seeder were you just using? Was that a Sinclair or which one was that?
So yeah, it is a Sinclair on the outside, but I remachined all the internals so that.
Okay.
So that
I was wondering how you got that to work.
Okay. Well, I like the Sinclair because it locks against the bottom, so you're referencing off the bottom of the case the whole time.
Yeah.
So I have a consistent point, so I don't have to worry about like if you use a shell holder, you'll notice the case rims are all different sizes, so they'll rock a little bit in there, right?
Yeah.
So I like the Sinclair because it holds it perfectly square and flushed up, but I had to machine the internals so that I could have a positive stop at the seating depth that I wanted.
Yeah.
And man, I love it.
Yeah, I think I told John this before. I use a 21st Century, and it's got so much float in it. It's
Yep.
I mean, but when I saw the Sinclair, it's like, how do you make that work? So yeah, I understand.
Well, here, I mean, I can here.
And like John, we all can't have the $600 one along with that $1,200.
You know, I don't. You guys know I don't use that anymore, right?
It goes with that $1,200 junk press that I bought.
This is my primer seeder now.
Oh, the Henderson. Oh no, what is that?
That's a mech
Oh, okay.
or a Lee. Sorry, Lee ACP.
Oh, okay. I still
Well,
use
I
the
don't-
21st Century.
So one thing you can do on the Sinclair is you can replace the spacers that come with it here. I just machined them to the size I needed them, but you can buy them from McMaster Carr, a shim kit, and then you can shim it to the exact depth you want. I can, if you want, I can look up the exact shim kit you need. I think it's 3/4, ½ inch by 3/4, something like that. And then you can just shim this up, and then you have the positive lock, right? Because this just goes right up in there. I mean, and you saw, and I don't like hand feeding them. So if you saw me, I use a Franklin to set them all to a starting depth, and then I can rapidly go through this to get everything down to the final depth. And it's been working out real well for me. So
Good, thank you. Yeah.
Hey, Damon,
I'm just trying to multitask.
I sent you a copy of my checklist. It's not perfect, but at least you have something to start with.
Oh, I appreciate that. Like I said, I've never traveled before, and it scares me to death. And I don't know if this helped, to be honest with you.
Well, so here's what I will tell you. If you're going to travel and you're worried about
It's so
missing
involved.
something, right? Like if you're worried about missing something, here's how I got started making sure I didn't forget anything when I traveled. And I guess this is probably like for anybody that ends up watching this 3 hours, this is probably the best thing I can tell you is pretend you're at the match and mentally walk through everything you do in your process. Okay, I get out a mat. Okay, I need the mat. And then I need my front rest. Okay, I got my front rest. And if I have my front rest, I need the joystick. Okay, I got my joystick. And just start writing all that down. Okay. And then when I get set up, then I've got my rear rest. Okay, let's write that down. Rear rest. Okay. And then I've got my rifle. Okay, write down rifle. And then I need my sunshade. Okay, my sunshade. And then if I need a mirage band, okay, mirage band. And my ammo box. Okay, ammo box. And spotting scope. And so mentally go through, like, you've competed enough, right? Like you and I compete all the time. Mentally, you can walk through your entire process in your head, right? So just sit there with the notes and just walk through and say, okay, if I was going to go shoot a match and I'm getting up on the line, let me walk through every process and write down every piece of equipment that I would normally need for that. My timer, like whatever it is, just mentally walk through setting up for a match and then scoring for a match. And just think, what do I need that I'm going to write down? And then that's your checklist, right? Then you can add on to it with like superfluous stuff, but that would be your bare nuts checklist.
Well, I mean, just the little things too, like you showed, traveling with the fluids, for your cleaning fluids.
Yeah.
I would completely have screwed that up and would have just had a disaster. In my carry-on luggage or something, or my checked luggage. So, I mean, it's just so involved, all those little details. And definitely, I so appreciate you doing this. That's awesome.
Don't forget your rope.
Oh, of course. Well, I like that one. That's way better than mine, man.
I'm gonna bite. What's the rope for?
So, the rope is for pulling targets. So, you put this over the frame, right? In fact, you can see this has all the red rust from Ben Avery. You put this over, and then it allows you to pull the target down real quick. So you work in pairs there. So one guy is going to pull the target and usually score it, and then the other guy's pasting and putting the scoring marker. So somebody's going to be sitting there, and you pull real quick, and then it goes down, and it goes down below grade sometimes. So then you're holding on to this, and then you can yank it back up. So the target goes back up. That way you're doing the best service possible and your hands don't get all torn up and you're not bending over all the time to reach the target and stuff like that. But yeah, so this one, Damon, I went to a shipyard here in Portland over on the river.
Oh, sweet.
And I said, show me your dock lines. And so this is like 1.25 inch dock line. And then I said, hey, can you put there's a name for this thing. But this dude does this. He does this whole thing and makes it into a whatever it is. There's a name for this thing, but he does this whole like where he splices it in and then does this knot like 5 minutes, right? And he goes, yeah, just give me another $5, And so I had 3 of these made. I had 2 made for a couple buddies of mine. But yeah, it's amazing because your hand doesn't get cramped on the rope. Some guys take like little 3/4 inch rope or 1/2 inch rope, and your hand gets all.
Hold on.
Damon's going to bring out his tiny rope.
Exactly. This is my cobbled together thing. It's so painful to use. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
My hands are literally bleeding by the time I'm done. So
yeah,
I love that. That is. I could go down to Point Loma.
Or go find like
boat,
Marine West or.
So, John, does anybody?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's Marine West down there.
Okay.
West Marine.
Go ahead, John or Steve.
I was this close to getting a ticket because I'm not ready to shoot yet. I just got my gun day before yesterday. I was this close to getting a ticket to go out there for a couple of days just to watch you guys shoot. Does anybody do that?
Yeah. You can definitely come out and watch. Yeah, it's technically open to the public. it's, you know, it's organized chaos. I mean, you would get there and be like, what the hell am I watching? But, you know, you'd start to figure it out. And I mean, there's probably, I've had at least 5 or 6 guys on Patreon and easily that many on YouTube that are all coming out to, you know, come watch it and say hi and stuff like that.
And you'll be
you know,
there from when to when?
Shooting starts Wednesday and goes through Sunday. But I mean, it's something to watch. I mean, it's, you know, it's arguably probably depending on the time of year, first or second largest attended match in the country. That in F-Class Nationals, I think there's technically more people at this one because you got sling shooters, but there's like 360, 370 people shooting. You know, there's 100 lanes at Ben Avery, but they don't use the middle like 5 or 10 because it's in a weird spot. But you've got 4 people on a relay, so there'll be 2 people up at shooting and 2 people down in the pits. And you know, it's something else. Like, I mean, I remember going to the nationals, you know, my first nationals, and I remember like, oh, this will be easy. I've gone to local matches and I totally get this. And you get there and you go, what the hell did I get myself into? It's a lot, you know, and everybody's just, I mean, it's just go, 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 go. And, you know, and then like to go to the pits, here's what's really funny. So depending on where you go, like Raton or Phoenix or different places, you don't drive your car to the pits. Like there's just too many people. You're sending like 180 people into the pits. So there's no way that you can drive cars down there. So at Ben Avery, they go and they have cattle cars. So they have these trailers with benches all the way around them and then some railing that you can hold on to. And so you've got big end, middle, and small end cattle cars. And they pull up in front of the berms, and then everybody walks down and jumps on these trailers, and everybody drives off down into the pits. And then they come and they leave them there, but then you get back on them and they drive you up, you know, back up. And, you know, you don't want to be the guy that missed the trailer.
You know, where do you fly into?
Phoenix.
Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Phoenix is pretty easy. It's, you know, Sky Harbor. I used to live down there, and Sky Harbor is a good airport. And, stuff like that. You know, other matches get trickier. Like Raton is just the worst. It is the best range in the worst place. So Raton is in New Mexico, and it's in the middle of nowhere. Like I guess it's next to like Ted Turner's 4 million acre ranch or something out there. But it's 33,000 acres, and it's an NRA shooting facility, and it is the most amazing range you'll ever shoot at. You ever been there, Damon?
Yeah, that was actually the first match.
Oh, that's where we shot together. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Now, do you guys ever come east?
No,
There's nothing here to shoot.
that's exactly why we don't come east.
Yeah.
Tennessee is the furthest that I go for matches.
Oh yeah, where's that at? Which one?
Dead Zero.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll try to catch it more local.
So I'm on the board of directors for the V Squared match, which it takes place at Dead Zero every year in June. And so
that's a different
format.
way of running it though, right?
Yeah, it's an invite only match.
Yeah.
You got to earn points over the year. It's a point series match.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, you want to watch a match. It's if you're close to it, it's a hell of a match to watch. Like it'll blow away watching other matches. Yeah.
And when's that being held?
First or second weekend in June. I don't remember the dates, but I think it's the first or second weekend in June. You know, other things to consider when you're traveling that I didn't talk about, just that I'm thinking of, is somebody had brought up rain gear, and I'll talk about that in a second. But, you know, obviously make sure that you've got stuff like this. Like, I'm not going to travel with this. I'll just buy one. But if I was traveling like Rattlesnake or something, I would take this. But, you know, make sure that you consider hydration, buying, you know, make sure you get water and sunscreen and, you know, everything else that you need. It's really important. I did forget to talk about rain gear. So let me talk about that real quick. So I have two complete videos on YouTube about all this rain gear, but I'll go over it real quick. So I'll be honest, I'm not bringing rain gear. There is absolutely zero forecast whatsoever for the next 14 days there. I am, knock on wood, not worried about it. There's no way I'm going to, yeah, famous last words. But I have to tell you, I'm not going to take up this much space for, 70-degree weather and no monsoons. So, but my rain gear does typically consist of, so I've got a couple sets of these which snap onto my scope. And then I've got a plastic cover that goes over that so that rain can't get into my action, and it helps cover my ammo. I've got a shower curtain. It can be 1 meter by 1 meter is all you can have. And it counts toward your gun weight. So you have to make sure that you're underweight to begin with. I do travel with a set of slickers. I have a dry pad for keeping score. I have a larger dry pad that I use for putting my ammo under. It's a whole production to do that. I've got extra shower curtains that I bring with me. I have bungee cords that I bring that are in this pack. So these are to hold down my tarp in case it's windy and rainy. Like Damon will tell you, when we were in Raton that year, there were just some fierce winds that would come just blowing through with rain. And, guys would throw a tarp over their cart, and then they'd go down to the pits, and then they'd come back and their stuff would be like blown across the range. So.
Hey, John, one thing that worked well for me in that situation was I had bungee cords, and, I just put the tarp over and then bungeed everything underneath my car.
That's what I just showed with all my bungee cords.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got, that's all right. You're busy. So something that I bought to help make that easier, though, I'll show you with my bungees. I went to Harbor Freight, and I bought one of these, which is like their Spider. Like, it's more adjustable and it's got bigger hooks. So I found that getting these were actually a little bit easier. And then all I did in the past is just tied a loop across the middle. So like if I have a cart or something, or I'm trying to bungee it to something, I just do this so that it holds down the middle a lot better. And then attach the four corners to whatever I need.
Oh, I like that. That's pretty cool. You said Harbor Freight or Home Depot?
Harbor Freight, or Home Depot would have them too. So yeah, no, I am fully self-contained. If it rains, like I'm good to go. And I don't mind shooting in the rain. I hate getting wet. Like it sucks, but it's probably one of the easiest ways to win a match or do well in a match is be prepared and comfortable to shoot in the rain, because most guys aren't. If your ammo gets wet, it's issues. Like if your ammo, even if it's like moist, it'll cause velocity issues. So like I always have a towel to dry my ammo off with, like all kinds of stuff when it comes to the rain. Like it's a whole thing. So, all right. Well, I'm going to go have some lunch. I figure almost 3 hours is long enough for anybody to sit through listening to me talk. So I appreciate you guys being here as always. And, don't forget, I do these videos because people suggest them. So if you want to see a video on something like Steve asked about spotting scopes, that's actually not a bad one. I just probably need to go grab some different spotting scopes from my friends so I can at least show you guys some different options, and we can look online for them. But, don't be afraid to hit me up with a message and just say, hey, I'd love to see a video on something. That's what you guys pay for. So.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Can I ask you one last question? I see that you switched over to Trijicon scopes now.
Mm-hmm.
What was your thought behind that? What made you go that way?
What was the last thing you saw me shooting? Vortex?
Vortex.
Yeah. So I love, look, I got nothing against the Golden Eagle. The Golden Eagle is a great scope for the money. I think it's really, really hard to beat. But if it has a downside, it's that at high power, it gets a little dark. And to be honest, I wanted something a little better glass on it. And the ability to go with the Trijicon that has the lit reticle with an added bonus because I shoot a lot in the dark. In fact, almost half my club year is shot in the dark. You know, and we have lit targets, but having a lit reticle really helps make a difference, especially being able to, you know, put your reticle where you want, you know, instead of black on black. And the other added benefit that I've seen is with the Trijicon, it's a green and red lit reticle, so you can use them in different circumstances. So red is actually kind of horrible during the day, but green is amazing during the day. So like I've shot during the day with the green reticle on, and in situations like really heavy mirage, where everything's kind of soupy and stuff like that, it can be tough, especially with a really fine reticle. You can lose your reticle really easy on a target. And so now if it's really soupy out there, I just kick on my, there's like 5 powers, but I can kick it on just a little bit. And then I get really good resolution, even when it's soupy out there, as far as where my actual reticle is. So I'd like that. The glass is amazing. It's all low glass, Japanese glass.
Which
Supposedly
model do you have?
The 10 mile 5 to 50.
5 to 50. And what's the price point on that one?
You can get them from Euro Optics for like 1,700.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I did a whole, if you look on my YouTube, I don't remember if I posted it here on Patreon or not, but I did a whole review on it. I thought I posted it here on Patreon. You might look, then you get the ad free. You can get the ad free.
Even though you think I do, I don't eat, breathe, and sleep messaging you every day.
I'm just saying.
I message you a lot.
But the nice thing about the Trijicon is not only do they give you a great scope, but you get a neoprene cover. It just won't fit with the sunshade on. It comes with the sunshade. It comes with plastic covers that just kind of fit on. And then it comes with those Tenebrax covers, which are amazing. So they give you, I mean, they give you everything you need to be successful with the scope too. You don't have to go buy stuff afterwards. So,
I just purchased the Night Force, was it the 15 to 55, the competition scope?
Yeah, yeah.
And at full power, like you said, it's so dark that I don't like it.
So with the Night Force and the Vortex and even the Callus, it's a 30 millimeter tube. And with the Trijicon, it's a 34 millimeter tube. So you're definitely getting bigger tube there.
Is that a 56 objective?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember right. Yeah, 56. Yeah.
That's good to hear.
So,
I'll go back and play some of the other videos about them. I saw that and it just really didn't dawn on me. I go, wait a minute, when did he start shooting a Trijicon?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I did a video on it not too long ago, so you should be able to, in fact, let me look here real quick. I can tell you. You should be able to go back and find it pretty easily.
When you're blowing out brand new brass, do you do a reduced charge or you just shoot it?
I just shoot it.
Yeah, that's the same thing Jeremy told me. He said, just shoot it.
Just shoot it. Yeah, go back to December 26th, and there's the Trijicon 10 mile review. So you can watch it here without having to watch all the ads like YouTube.
Okay. Well, if I don't talk to you again, I hope you do great out there and have a good time.
I appreciate it. You know, all you can do is be prepared, right?
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, we will. I'll be doing some videos while I'm down there, so I know you guys will see, for better or worse, you know, how things go down there, and I'll probably see Damon down there and a bunch of guys that we're friends with. So it's always a good time. So.
Have fun.
Good.
All right, guys. We will see you later.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.